And welcome to episode, what is it, 208? 209?
209.
209 of the Planet Destiny podcast. We are back once again to talk about what's been going on in the world of Destiny 2. And man, what a week it's been. There's so much stuff to talk about. We had the director's cuts, 1, 2, and 3 from Luke Smith, which covers some really revolutionary changes that are going to be coming alongside Destiny 2 Shadowkeep. We had the armor customization preview live stream go live earlier this week, which was fantastic. It showed off what Armor 2.0 is basically going to be like. We're going to be giving our thoughts on that, doing a bit of a quick rundown of it. There's so much stuff to talk about this week, and I really cannot wait to dive on into it. First things first, of course, we've got our roundtable of hosts here. We've got Mr. Nim Plays, or Eddie Valiant. Call him Eddie Valiant from now on. Call him Eddie. He'll understand. Hi, Nim.
Understandable. Have a nice day.
Good to have you back, buddy.
What's
Mr.
up?
Dan Finity.
Oh, hi. What's up? What's good?
Hey,
Everybody
good to
doing
see you. I
well?
like that shirt, man.
Thanks. This is a Dr. Jones original. It comes in Vanguard and Dredgen. And it's a ripoff. It's not a ripoff, but it's based on the Ramones design, if you guys are familiar.
That's a cool look. I would buy that shirt. Send me a link to wherever he has it. I will buy one because that's a cool looking shirt. And I like how it says Zavala and Cade at the top because it's topical. You know, there was a huge thread on the subreddit about Zavala and Cade both playing Warlocks in Destiny.
Right? What is up with that?
I'm sorry, Aura. I'm sorry that our class is just so much better than everybody else that all the voice actors want to play them.
You know, as long as Titans are on the bottom, I think we can all be friends.
I'm cool with that.
You know what? You my dog, Aura. And by the way, Mr. Aura, welcome back, man. It's great
Thanks,
to have
man. It's good to be back, everybody. Hello. I know you missed me. I know it.
I've been making references to you for every episode for like the past couple of weeks. I've missed you, man. And
thanks, man. Thank you, dude.
This week, I got some stuff to talk to you about, man, because we got that armor preview this week. And you know what I was seeing? Unflinching fusion aim, fusion reserves, fusion scavenger. I can set up my own fusion rifle roll. I would be doing you proud, dog. Like, I've been playing a lot of Crucible the past week, and I have been using nothing but Merciless and Aerentil. It has reignited my love for fusions, and it's just that
fun,
there's nothing. There's nothing like that feeling of zzz, bzz, the sweet release of a fusion rifle burst. There's nothing like it in the game. And dude, with the armor changes that are coming, being able to completely set up your entire fusion rifle set without having to rely on RNG. That's what I like to see from my stuff right there. So why don't we just go ahead and dive on into that? Because that's, of course, one of the biggest topics that we had this week. The armor customization live stream. Bungie went live earlier this week. We got to see Armor 2.0. We got to see the way perks and mods are going to be changing. We got to see how absolutely stacked the stat screen is going to be when Shadowkeep comes out. It's going to be a lot of stuff to keep track of when this goes live. But I'm really excited about it because you know what? I had high hopes for the way that this was going to change the armor system in Destiny 2. And I am very happy to report Bungie met all of them. They did exactly what I wanted them to do. And we'll do a bit of a roundtable on that. Aura, did you have a chance to see the stream?
I watched bits and pieces of it, and I was trying it. There was so much information I felt flying at me that it was really hard to digest everything that was going on. And even going back and reading the director's cut of some of the changes didn't really fill in all of the blanks. I really struggled to understand why element affinity was a thing. And then people were like, well, if there wasn't there, you would literally be able to stack all of the perks that you would want all at the same time, and it would just cause chaos. So it's just one of the it's like one of those ways that they can kind of keep things in control. You'd have to depend on whether or not you want to run hand cannons and fusion rifles, or if you want to run snipers or shotguns. It would really depend on a lot of things. So it made a little lot more sense to me once I was able to sit down with the community and be like, hey guys, what does all this mean? But I like it, but I want to play it. I want to know what it's like. I want to know what the grind is going to be like in order to earn these mods, because some of them are going to be granted right away. Like the small arms. I think small arms loader was one of the ones they said there's 11 mods we're going to get right out of the gate to tinker with. And there's going to be ones we have to earn through end game activities, true end game activities from what I understand. We're talking Iron Banner, raids, stuff like that. So I'm really curious to see how acquiring the mods all shapes up, what the RNG is like for getting certain perks that we might be looking for, how that all pans out. Because right now, and I think Nem can attest to this, like as a fusion rifle main, I've got fusion rifles scavenger, which I can actually stack, and I can pick up a crazy amount of ammunition right now. If I wanted to, I take it easy on some of you guys and only run one for the most part. But I've got light reactor, which gives me my super on fusion rifle kills. I've got reloader. Now, unflinching doesn't do a damn thing right now. It is worthless as a perk, but enhanced unflinching apparently works really well. So I'm curious to see how that pans out. But I've got a build already set up in place right now that is built for fusion rifle, and I've played this game so much, I've got the same exact thing for shotguns and snipers if that's what I want to do in Crucible. So I'm the kind of player who will still build all of these different ones depending on what I'm doing. And comp is going away, thank God. Bring it to elimination. We'll get into that. But certain weapons are going to lend themselves to certain game modes. It's really difficult to fusion rifle on PC against top tier players. It's hard to do. So I'm curious to see how all that pans out. What it's going to be like to acquire all of that gear. That's my main concern.
Yeah, so I mean, building off of there, they told us a bit about how we'll be acquiring these universal mods and whatnot when it goes live. Most of them you're going to get from the gunsmith. They're going to be a part of gunsmith packages, just random drops from that. And Banshee's going to be selling them. I don't remember if they said on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. So you'll be buying them from Banshee, and a lot of them will drop from his packages. So if you got a lot of weapon mats, you should be golden by the time Shadowkeep comes around. But you're right. The enhanced perks, the enhanced mods, those are going to come from in-game activities. So stuff like Iron Banner, stuff like the Raid, whatever new in-game event they're going to be adding in Shadowkeep, which is fantastic. I think that's another great incentive to get people into some of those top tier level things. And I mean, as for some of the other stuff there, I was a little confused on the energy system at first, but as we understand it, it's just going to be. There's only going to be a few things that are randomly applied to your armor once Shadowkeep comes out. It's going to be the stats that are on it and the element that it's tied to. And as far as the elemental affinity works, it's going to be kind of like the masterwork system is right now, where it's just what you level up in order to have the pick 10 system style points to apply mods with. I think it looks good though, definitely.
By the way, currently sitting on 8,000 weapon parts with 968 on my character, ready to go into the vault to become 9,000. So if you're listening or watching on YouTube, comment in the comment section how many weapon parts you're sitting on. I'd like to go back, read the comments and see where you're at before we get to this situation where you're dumping these in. And the thing about it is, if the gunsmith is offering things like unflinching, not worth it. It's really not worth it at all. It doesn't work at all unless it's an enhanced perk.
Right.
So don't dump all of your weapon parts into the gunsmith if you're hunting unflinching perks. They don't work. They are 100% a lie. I'd love to see the stats and someone do a science video behind it, but from wearing them, just today, I played against a guy who was using a last word from about 40 meters out, and I got flinched off my shot.
Yeah.
So maybe Nem knows a little bit about it. I don't know. Maybe the scientist in the room knows a little bit about it, but they really see like they don't work.
Oh, dude, I can't really talk a whole lot about like fusion rifles at the moment, just because like I haven't really been playing a lot of Crucible lately.
I just meant unflinching perks in general, whether you use them
unflinching perks. So I've used I have an enhanced sniper rifle, like unflinching, that it came with my Iron Banner stuff, and I can tell you that it's helped with the revoker.
I could see enhanced. Enhanced is supposed to work. That's the thing that is like legitimately supposed to perform. It's the ones that are regular, the non-enhanced version of unflinching that hasn't done anything for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't usually run those anyways. I'm not super into like min-maxing like perks. I carry the necessary stuff, scavenger, light reactor obviously, and reserves. But outside of that, I haven't really been paying too much attention about what I carry on.
Yeah, I mean, I've some, just to build off something else Horace said. I have a couple of builds that are tailored like that. I have a shotgun build for Crucible. It kind of became a Lord of Wolves build for Crucible for a while there, but something else that was mentioned by Luke Smith in his director's cut as kind of an addendum to the armor thing is that for people who are like Aura out there who have built up these armor sets, they've got all their reserve perks and all their enhanced perks and whatnot built up on a set. They've got their super mods attached to it. That's not going away when Shadowkeep comes out. They're not going to be deprecating any of that stuff. So you're not losing your builds, which is great. They're just going to try to, they're going to incentivize you to use the new stuff as you move on to the new content. But thankfully, Aura, that fusion rifle build you got right now, it's going to work perfectly fine when Shadowkeep comes out. That shotgun build you got, it's going to work perfectly fine. And hopefully you'll move if you find a better way to create your own set, you'll be able to move on to that. But I'm glad that they're not going to be taking away all of the Sweat Lords builds that they kind of had to work through RNG to build up. That would have been a little frustrating. I know for me to lose my shotgun build. Ugh.
For the record, I don't use super mods. Everybody out there listening, I get enough slack for maining a fusion rifle. I do not need any more nonsense on top of that. On my hunter, you might catch a Paragon mod here and there. I am not a super mod guy. And honestly, with Light Reactor, I don't need it. With Light Reactor,
5 of them.
Dude,
Light Reactor's good.
I remember, Nem, I played against you and had you on my team. I remember.
I'm just saying, bro. I don't use any super mods. I'm not like a try-hard like that.
No, I also don't use Invis, Middle Tree, Night Stalker, and today was my first day using Bottom Tree Striker. I had to get kills for armor sets. Anyway, I don't want to derail the conversation in any event.
Yeah.
I just want to get that out there. I get enough hate as is. I don't use super mods.
What I thought was really interesting was like in the director's cut when Luke Smith said that like he figured the top teams would probably still be using their armor, let's say 1.0 sets when going in for the raid race the following Saturday.
Yeah.
And like that has led like my community. I know Jaden had said something about like, yeah, like probably after that first week, people are going to start building their 2.0 sets for the future after that. So that seemed, I'm really excited about all the customization possibilities. That should be really fun.
How many of you guys are done your Solstice armor sets to get a free set of 2.0 armor right at launch?
I have
all 3 characters.
I'm working on my 3rd character now. I just got the blue set on Titan today.
I've got 1 character finished midway through on my hunter and haven't started my Titan.
Nem. I did all of them.
Did all 3?
Yeah. Which is why my play time has been like super low.
Yeah.
Right. I could understand needing a break after that. I'm on my Titan. I got my Warlock done in 2 days, and I had some stuff happen, which is why I stepped away from PD in IRL. I had to be away for about 3 weeks from playing the game, 2 weeks from playing the game. And so I did my Warlock in 2 days, and I got my Titan halfway. I got my Titan through the blue armor all in that same time span, and then I didn't play the game at all. Today was the first day I picked up Destiny in a very, very long time. So I'm getting my Titan through the blue set of armor. It's probably about 85% done, and I have my Hunter left. Honestly, my Titan isn't even 750 yet. To give you an idea of my playtime on a Titan. Not even 750 yet. Apparently, you get the armor you earn is 750 right away.
Yes.
Like if you earn the purple set, 750. So the character will be 750 once it's all said and done. But the grind is real, but it came to me at a point in my life where having nothing, like being able to shut off my brain and play Destiny was like the best thing that could happen. So like while the grind was a lot, it was the right thing for me at that time in my life. Like I really enjoyed the fact that I could just kind of escape what was going on and just blindly play through even the 100 mini boss. Really wasn't that bad, especially when you're Warlock skating around the map with a sword. You can get to a lot. You can get to 10 to 12 of them in a session. But so yeah, I didn't mind it. Today was a little bit. I was using the Wizard Rebuke for arc kills on my Titan and Crucible, which is a fusion rifle, so it was fine. 10 games of Gambit as a solo player are going to be interesting because I just want to take odds on bets on AFK players in the lobby. So
yeah,
Yeah, I would actually argue that the 10 games of Gambit was probably the worst part for me of the Solstice of Heroes grind. The 100 mini bosses sucked. It did. That's better now. They cut it down in half. It's 5 or 50 mini bosses with major bosses at the end counting for 5 points. Fantastic change. We called it on this show before they made that change. Remind you people, we called it right here. Knew it was going to happen. But gosh, that Gambit step, that was painful. Just sitting in the queue as a solo player 10 times.
The best thing that could happen is like a full team of AFK and just get annihilated. Like the worst thing that could happen is actually have competitive games where they go back and forth, or if you're in Prime where you get into multiple damage phases, or if you're in regular Gambit where you actually have to play 2 rounds and then overtime. Like just get it, just power through it, just get it done with. Absolutely destroy me. It's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Whatever gets me through these games faster. You know.
Yeah. But beyond that, the Solstice grind this time wasn't that bad. It was much better. Much better than last year's Solstice of Heroes, which was just a nightmare and a half of story missions and running the 1 AU mission, which used to be my favorite story mission until Solstice of Heroes last year. So ultimately, not bad. And for those out there who are wondering about it, you don't need to rush through Solstice. You can get done with it in a couple of days. It's really not that bad at all. And getting it done actually has a tangible reward this time. You get that armor 2.0, so you get to have your nice shiny chroma enhanced set with the new armor system right when Shadowkeep comes out, and that's definitely a good benefit for me. I'm looking forward to finishing up my remaining 2 characters in the next week or so. Shouldn't take long at all.
We have until the 27th to get that done, by the way. Is that correct?
Yes.
So.
I think we were saying the 27th to get that finished, by the way. Not the end of the month. What's that, 4 days short of the end of the month? So
yeah,
it's plenty of time though. That's plenty of time to get the Solstice grind done. Even with the Nim, did you masterwork all your characters?
No, there's no need for that.
That's Eddie Valiant's way of saying, "Ain't nobody got time for that."
Well, so if you masterwork this set now, is it masterworked when you go to the gunsmith and transition? Is it going to be a what is a masterwork version? When the energy is 10, that will be a masterwork version.
Because the masterwork version of Armor 2.0 costs that specific amount, or that specific the new currency, which I'm assuming nobody's going to have that from the get-go. So
no,
you're going to have to remasterwork it, and no need for me.
It's just a party pooper, Nem party poopers.
If it's Armor 2.0, then the reason to masterwork it is for the extra energy. So I don't think it's going to come with all 10 energy slots unlocked from the get-go.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because masterworking in Armor 2.0 is just going to be unlocking all those energy slots so that you can slot up a bunch of armor. And they haven't said anything about masterworking the set we have right now transferring to that set. So you know what? You might be right to poop all over this party, Nim, because imagine going through the work to masterwork the gear. Although it's not really that hard. It's like, what, a 200k Nightfall, Shattered Throne, and stuff like that. But imagine doing that work, and then when Shadowkeep rolls around, doesn't matter. You just masterworked old gear.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you really want to run a masterworked set that's not the 2.0 one for, I don't know if that'll continue having the damage resistances, then by all means. But again, I currently, as it is, the only time I've ever masterworked a piece of armor was the boots, so I can get the Triumph done.
Yeah, you need one of the masterworks in order to get the Triumph completed. I found masterworked armor 1.0, as Dan called it, this current version of armor, useful in Shattered Throne when I was doing it solo.
Yeah,
the damage resistance, the solar damage resistance when I was playing against the ogre, was it Vorgith? And then the arc resistant armor playing against Dolan Karu were the 2 situations where the only in the entire game, the only time where I found masterworking armor to be useful at all was those 2 encounters. Other than that, not really.
And even at that, Taken Barrier would help you out too.
Right. You just throw a mod on. And that was really kind of it seemed like kind of an issue with masterworking armor right now, where it was kind of a half-baked sort of thing.
Right.
Like Bungie just kind of threw it in there and didn't really know what they wanted to do with it. And so there's really no reason to masterwork armor as it is right now. I mean, you get the elemental resistance, if you get the elements matching what you're actually looking for. But it's it seems like such an afterthought that there's, I'd imagine an extremely small subset of the population that actually even engaged in that. I know certainly I've probably only masterworked one full set of armor, like since masterworking armor became a thing. But thankfully, that's changing in Shadowkeep because you actually have a reason to fully masterwork your armor, in addition to getting the full 10 points for your pick 10. And no, I won't stop calling it that ever since Nim revealed to me that it's kind of similar to the Call of Duty pick 10 system for class building with the mods and whatnot. That's just how I look at it now. It's basically the same thing. But in addition to getting more points for you to allocate for your mods, masterworking your armor in Shadowkeep is also going to give you a boost to the stats that are on that armor. You're going to get extra points to intellect, extra points to discipline, strength, resilience, recovery, mobility, all that kind of stuff, which has a tangible benefit in the game. Like, that matters. We got to see them make a grenade build. I can't remember her name, but she made a warlock grenade build.
Lisa.
Lisa. We saw her on the Vidoc. And like when she masterworked some of that stuff, that stat bar got a little big. I think her cooldown for grenades was like 32 seconds.
37 seconds.
37 seconds, and that's not counting like some of the abilities we have in the game that boost your grenade recharge rate.
Right.
That's pretty good. That's within the running space of Destiny 1 cooldowns when we had 25-second cooldowns for some abilities and whatnot. That's pretty good.
Yeah, of all the builds, I felt like hers in that Vidoc was probably the most mesmerizing to watch. Like, the other two were good examples of what you could do, but that one to me was the synergy between your abilities and your armor kind of coalescing and doing what you want with it. It was so good.
One thing that, like, to remember about that particular build that she was running, though, is that the getaway artist, whenever the sentient arc buddy gets a kill, it gives you a portion of your grenade energy back.
That's so dumb. That's so dumb that you guys get that.
Build is supposed to work, right? You want to build these grenade trees in tandem with an ability inherent within an exotic or your character's build itself, so that you might get what I'm going to call it double the benefit.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of calling it something. If I get a kill, it's going to double my recharge rate. It's going to make my recharge rate twice as fast. Plus the discipline build on top of that means that I'm going to be able to rely on my arc buddy, which, by the way, is vicious.
Yeah.
No matter what. And I think that's exactly what Bungie's kind of going for. The problem that I might see is that I don't see how it's practical all over the spectrum.
Right.
Where, like, there's very few things where melee is going to come into play, like maybe with smoke grenades on a hunter, and maybe with the little throwing hammer, which, by the way, I had a blast with the little throwing hammer today. That thing is so much fun, man.
Have you named him yet?
Like, I bounced one off a thrall and killed an acolyte. I got a double kill out of it today. It was pretty impressive. It was pretty wild because that thing bounces everywhere. I don't know if you guys noticed or not. That thing goes all over the place. But anyway, there's like not that many. I mean, am I just not thinking of them? Where there's like other really good melee tree builds where you can. I mean, I always think Titan first when I'm thinking melee, and
I think you could probably make like a disorienting build.
Maybe?
You could make a disorienting build with the hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I saw enough of that in what was it, Revelry?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Revelry.
So,
well, that would be associated with your Shade Step, though, right? You're thinking Gemini Jesters and Shade Step, not so much melee.
No. The disorienting blow for the
the melee that makes you.
Yeah.
That doesn't work that great.
But if you build around it, I'm sure there's something crazy there.
I mean, yeah, I can. If you synergize disorienting blow, Gemini Jesters with melee mods, like, you can definitely have, almost like a
You thought me running around with a fusion rifle was annoying.
Yeah, it's really cool to see literally all of the stats as well. I mean, down to like the time that the cooldown takes, and it's not a guessing game of where
it's a number. It is a number.
It's a proper number. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
being able to just see the cooldown there is fantastic. And you're right, Lisa. She really showed off what you could do with a focused ability build. Like you could because there's plenty of perks in the game that help you build your abilities back up, whether it's, the ones like impact induction or the ones, where getting melee kills gives you your grenade energy back, grenade kills gives you your melee energy back. And now that you can mix and match that with the stat bonuses that we're going to have, I can see some silly things happening. I see people in chat talking about devour warlocks with Winter's Guile, with some of the with some of the strength builds that are going to be possible with Shadowkeep. You're gonna have that melee energy back basically 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Devour already gives you your ability energy back ridiculously fast. With a strength build,
yeah,
you're gonna have a lot of slaps available to you. We've already got the crazy One Punch Man build with with Titans going on now. I could see that being built up a bit more. Peregrine Greaves with having more of the shoulder tackles. This is cool. I like that you can focus your build around the abilities that you want to use. This is moving more into that MMORPG territory that Luke Smith talked a lot about this week, and I'm very happy to see that's where we're going with the game.
I could see something like pretty cool with the Titans chest, like the Heart of Inmost Light too, because that plays across all three of your abilities. That, I don't know, man.
There's a lot of possibilities.
There's a lot of theory, like a lot of crafting that you can do, which I'm stoked. Just stoked.
It looks good. It looks super good. All right, was there anything else from the customization preview that we wanted to talk about?
I think that about covers most of the important parts of
the
that.
Gist.
It's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and dive on in to the Luke Smith Director's Cut. We got this in 3 different parts over the course of the week. These are massive, monumental articles that go pretty in-depth into the psychology of Bungie and the decision-making process that they made, how they see the game, and we got to learn a lot of big things about what's going to be changing when Shadowkeep rolls around. I almost don't even know where to begin, because we've got stuff like Crucible changes, major playlist changes. We've got comp and quick play both going away. We've got the return of 3v3, which I could not be more excited about. We've got Elim coming back, survival. Of course, we've got new maps coming in. Major changes to the way roaming supers are going to be working. They're having their damage resistance toned way down, hopefully so that you can shotgun melee them like you could back in the olden days. You're going to be getting your supers less. Good Lord, there's still so many different things to talk about. They're bringing everybody's power up to 750. So stop infusing things right now. Stop that, because you're wasting your time.
Delete your stuff.
Yeah, delete your stuff. You don't need it.
You don't need it anymore.
So I honestly don't even know where to begin with this kind of stuff.
You got to take a stab at it.
Yeah. So let's
throw a dart. Figure it out.
Let's kind of look through them individually. One of the first things that we learned about in the first director's cut is that the annual pass was really hard on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of rough to hear, because I mean you don't want that kind of pressure on developers, because again, especially with like Bungie, they've always gotten flack with any sort of like DLC release. And with them trying to avoid the content drought, this was kind of wild. But the first part. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I thought that part was really interesting, because they talked about how much that dragged on the team, how hard they had to work to push that content out, and that they were basically wearing themselves thin, really burning the candle at both ends. And I didn't really find that surprising, because it's essentially what happened with Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the original release schedule, their contract with Activision, and maybe the annual pass was a remnant of that sort of contract, was that they have a major release like D1 coming out, then they have 2 smaller DLCs. We had Dark Below and House of Wolves, and then another major release in a year. That was supposed to be their content release schedule all throughout every year of Destiny's expansion or lifespan, and they couldn't keep that up. We all remember the big news we got about a year into D2 or D1 right before Taken King came out, where they said, we can't do this anymore. We can't keep up with this kind of schedule. And that's why we wound up getting the Taken King, and then didn't get anything for a year until Rise of Iron came out, because they couldn't keep that content release schedule up. It was too much work, and they were just burning themselves down. So I thought it was really interesting and kind of strange that when they got into Destiny 2 here, that they essentially signed on for the same thing. It was the exact same content release schedule. They had a major release, 2 minor DLCs, and then another major expansion. And I when they got out of their contract with Activision earlier this year, I figured that was probably going to be one of the first things that they changed when they finally made whatever they were going to be making next, which is going to be Shadowkeep. And so it's always hard to hear that because crunch time. We all have heard stories of crunch time in the gaming dev world, and it's an awful thing, and it tears people down. I can still think of the horror stories about Anthem's development and how that nearly destroyed some people. And it's very much the same with games like Destiny. So I'm not surprised that that they were in that sort of they were in that sort of mood with the annual pass, and I'm glad that they're not going to be doing it again.
Yeah.
Right.
Should we just roll through it point by point?
Let's go.
It's a lot of points.
It's
a lot of points.
Maybe we combine some of those reckoning points because there were like 8 different points about reckoning.
By your powers combined.
The first one that this is something that I've kind of hit on a couple of shows ago is there are so many powerful sources in the game.
Yep.
It is currently probably the most rewarding like Destiny is. Like you can literally run anything basically and you can get powerful gear, and that's something that they're going to kind of tone back a little bit when Shadowkeep comes around. They're what was the quote that he said? I think it was in like in part 3, but that they want you to, if you want to hit like the max power level stuff, you gotta run
pinnacle activities,
like the proper end game stuff.
Think Shadowkeep's gonna run at what? Like we're gonna start at 750. It's gonna run to like 960 or 1,000 maybe even or something like that. I think it's like 10 below is gonna be where you'll be able to get to using milestone type rewards, and then the last 10, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nem, because it's been a minute since I read it. But like the last little leap of level is going to be available only by completing end game activities. Whether it's Iron Banner, whether it's raids, whether there's another, I'm sure there's another version of end game activity that's going to come with Shadowkeep that's going to substitute for what Menagerie is. So that last little step is going to be end game only in order to acquire the maximum power level. But we're still not sure that maximum power level is going to matter. We still, whether or not that matters is yet to be seen. The deltas in Iron Banner were aggressive. One of the only places where it really mattered, but that's where my reservation is. It's like if I'm 910, whatever, or 900 is max and 890 is where we stop. What difference does that make in my everyday activities gameplay?
Right.
Section? So.
Yeah, and like I said, that's something that I've voiced here as well. It's just that power level really just kind of seems like almost useless in a sense. Yeah.
Well, the one point they made kind of goes the other direction. They are increasing the basement levels. So in other words, you can be right now if you're 50 power level below an activity, you do no damage to adds to enemies.
Yeah, you're gated.
Right.
So now they're reducing that to 100, or they're increasing it, whatever the word is. You can be 100 power level below the enemy and still do some damage, which is a really good way for people like Carolina Gamer and Slayerage to find crazy ways to beat this game that we could never possibly even dream of or think about. But that's another way to bring players in from New Light. What is it called?
Destiny 2 New Light. Yeah,
that's it. So that they can feel like they can participate in certain aspects of the game. You can be 100 power level below and still participate to some degree.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
but that kind of ties into this. That ties into it more, I think, than going higher in power level. Honestly.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple of things with that. I don't remember if they said what they said the soft cap was. I think it's around 900. Luke references getting to 950 in.
I thought I saw that.
Yeah, and basically mentioned that so whatever the level is going to be, you're going to be able to get to a certain level, and then non-in-game powerful sources are going to stop giving you anything beyond that level. And in order to get beyond that, you're going to have to play in-game content. This is very similar to what we have in other MMOs. And I think the example he gave was like you might get up to 950, but if you want to get stuff that's above 950, you got to go run that in-game stuff. That's probably going to be the raid, like Nim said, whatever in-game activity they're going to have, a dungeon and stuff like that. And I think that's great. I think that's absolutely fantastic. It's what every other MMO does, and it's kind of something that Destiny needed to do. Because
100%.
Yeah.
There's too many things right now. There's too many things to do, and too many things that give you powerful rewards that can get you to end game. It really kind of disincentivizes running stuff like the raid, because there's no real reason to, outside of maybe getting a shotgun that might have the role you want. There's not much of a reason to run the raid when those used to be the only way you could get to max level back in Destiny 1. And I'm glad they're moving back to that. You can get to in-game adjacent, I think is what I referred to. You can get in-game adjacent level stuff by playing whatever you want. But if you want to get that tip-top level, you got to play the in-game content. I think that's good. And when it comes to them, I think they mentioned it as raising or lowering the immunity wall, however you want to describe that, making it so that we can damage enemies that are 100 levels above us. I don't know about y'all. That says one thing to me. They about to throw some power level 1,000 plus enemies at us in whatever prestige or hard mode activity we're going to get. That's what's about to happen. We're going to get schmeated by things that are 100 light levels above us. And I don't know how to feel. That's a little terrifying to me.
Well, I think Aura has kind of hit it in the head in the past where it's just like, I'm okay with getting hit, like being knocked around a little bit.
Yeah.
Smack me in the mouth. Bring it on. Bring on the challenge. I'm the kind of player who needs it. I need to get my ass kicked every once in a while. And when I'm playing those kinds of engagements and it's actively happening and it's really a challenge, that's when I'm at my most heightened level of gameplay. And I'm going to fall off the map and I'm going to blow myself up with rockets. It's just part of who I am. I can't avoid it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I still enjoy a significant challenge when it's in the game. Like your first run through a raid, when you're at the most disadvantage, that's when it's the most fun for me. Running Kingsfall, not being able to get shot at all, was like the most fun I've had running that raid versus being 10 power level above it and like farting on an ogre and he dies. Like that wasn't as much fun. I mean, farting on ogres is great, but it wasn't as much fun as getting one shot by everything. I'm okay with it. And before we get too far away from this topic, if you're one of the people out there who's going to sit there and say, I have no way to do endgame activity, talk to us about it. Mention comments in chat, mention comments on the YouTube channel. Let us provide you with the resources because they are out there. Whether you're a stay-at-home dad, whether you work 40 hours a week, 80 hours a week, and you have 15 minutes to play, let us provide you with the resources to get the most out of that 15 minutes for you. We will not leave anybody behind if we can help it, as long as you're not an asshole. Yeah. Don't be an asshole.
That's a good rule. I like that rule.
There.
Don't be a dick. That's
yeah, so I'm looking through, and it was in the director's cut part 2 is Shadowkeep is going to introduce the pinnacle powerful sources, and those are the only sources where you can get gear drop that drops above 950. So we are going to be going above that.
And he also later on, because I looked at this as well, he later on says something about like when you see somebody, if you inspect a player and see that their gear is 960, you know they've done a bunch of pinnacle activities.
Yeah.
Right, that's where I got 960 from. I didn't think I made that up. I thought I'd seen that somewhere, but again, it had been a crazy couple of weeks. A lot of information to digest. So, and that's, as the YouTube comments have pointed out, I haven't been the greatest in being accurate with some of my statements. So that one, I thought that was right. Thanks, YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like basically all other big MMOs do that. I always use the example of Final Fantasy 14. I think the max what you would consider light in that game right now is 470, and you can get up to 450 by doing whatever you want. And 450 is enough to get you into the raids and do a lot of the in-game stuff. But if you want to hit that 470, you got to run raids. You got to do the in-game stuff. And I'm glad to see that Destiny's moving back to that sort of system because I need a reason to run it.
It kind of needs it.
It does. Like I can't even tell you the last time I ran Crown of Sorrow or wanted to.
Yeah,
I like that raid, and I'm always game to do it. But nobody thinks that the PvP guy wants to play PvE activities. I like Crown of Sorrow quite a bit. I enjoy that raid. It's never a bad thing to have reasons to enjoy content outside of the loot pool. I know that Bungie's pretty heavy on that, but this kind of gives us a reason. Let's say that some of the weapons aren't the greatest. There's still a drive to participate, even if the loot pool is diluted. Maybe there's only one weapon out of the entire group that's going to be useful. So I think that this is beneficial regardless, because it's been something. Really, really good weapons all over the place have been a thing that Bungie has struggled with. And I don't think that's their fault. It's a hard job to do, but this would add value to areas where there might not be value before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Very
my
happy with that change.
I was talking to this with my buddy Ashen, and we were doing the Solstice grind, and he was like, I hit 750 before ever touching a raid, and that's not right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that just means that there's literally no incentive to run what's supposed to be like the high end of
Right.
game activities in the game. So yeah, I'm really glad that and they mentioned that, you know, as seasons come and go, some of these activities are going to be rotated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is incredible and needed
Yes.
to add value to the content that we're currently playing for, and to drive and to create the space to provide more content in the future. I think one of the words was like, we can't continue to add things to this game forever and ever and ever. There's a finite amount of space, whether it be console, PC related. There's a finite amount of room to fit things in Destiny. So taking things away for a season, in my mind, adds more value to that season. I love it. I love the idea.
This actually reminds me of your point when Black Armory launched Aura, where you weren't happy that you had to run Dreaming City, you had to run all of this other stuff that we had already been running for 6 months after Forsaken came out, in order to just barely touch and get into the first Forge.
Yeah,
So
awful.
them rotating these activities like that is pretty fantastic to highlight whatever new stuff they're going to be adding as the seasons come and go.
I want to go to Bungie and be the one who like hits the button that makes the Forge go. And I don't think Forge is going away, but I just want to be the one that like makes it disappear. If it were, I don't think it's going to. And that's definitely not going to get me an invitation out to Bungie. But but oh, it'd make me so happy.
We heard your comments on the podcast, and we're gonna say hard pass.
Yeah, I don't think any of our outside of Gamma, right? I don't think we operate in the assumption that any of the current stuff is going to be going away. I think this means that whatever comes with Shadowkeep might only be around for Shadowkeep, and then and they said before anybody goes up in arms about collections, because I'm a collector too. The loot pool is going to find its way back into the game at some point.
Yes.
Later in time. So maybe it skips a season. Maybe from season, whatever this is coming up, 9, maybe. I made that up.
Yeah.
It comes back in season 11.
Almost.
Right? So maybe every other season we get that loot pool back before anybody freaks out.
And they've kind of trained us with that with the new Bright Ingram from this past season, where it's not new stuff. You're not getting new stuff all the time. You're getting previous drops from previous seasons to allow people to get those collections back. So that makes the most sense to me now that we have that Pavlovian training.
That's Eververse.
Right.
Yeah, that's Eververse.
But they're just taking that philosophy and adding it to the rest of the game, though.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it'd be interesting how they're gonna implement some of that other stuff. Hey, maybe Menagerie. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
Oh man, I want Menagerie to stay. I want it to
Menagerie
evolve
is
and
too
grow.
much.
No, I mean
value
like
in a
they'll
direct
probably
path
use
to loot.
Menagerie to like rotate some of that stuff.
right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That could work.
Yeah.
That could
Like
that
add
could actually work.
Yeah,
let's say
totally.
Black Armory went away, you would add the Black Armory loot pool to the Menagerie as a way to farm those weapons. Is that what you're
like
saying?
they can replace like the Reverie
Yeah.
Dawn stuff or like the Black
That'd be cool.
Armory.
Yeah, for a season, they swap out the loot that's in the Menagerie with some of the previous stuff.
Well, I don't know.
like the Trials of Osiris armor, for example.
Golden Reckoning.
Or
Reckoning doesn't need any more loot. It has spare rations.
you could
Reckoning
give them.
needs to
It
go
has the only
away.
reason to play it.
You could give them to planetary vendors.
Hey,
You stop that. You stop that right now.
I mean, I dropped my
Planetary
mic, but it was expensive.
They're nostalgia at this point, man.
Yeah.
Like you can't. They're like Care Bears. You
They're
can't change the
static.
Care Bears, man. Leave them as they are. You know what I mean? They're vintage now.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the very least, I thought it was funny. Nim and I did a wrap of the Bungie preview stream where they talked about all that kind of stuff, and I mentioned to him, "Congratulations, planetary vendors are finally getting an upgrade. They're not getting any new gear, but all the gear you've had for the last 2 years is going to be Armor 2.0 compatible now, Nim.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
They answered your complaint, right?
Yes.
Right.
But they'll be middle of the row at best.
Yeah. That's actually really, really cool that after Shadowkeep launches, every legendary set will be Armor 2.0.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. Like that's gonna make me want to go back out there.
Collections, right? Like
Right.
I can't go back.
You have to recollect it, yeah.
Right.
Except for your exotics. The exotics,
right, the exotics will be 2.0.
Right, yeah. Because I mean, there's several of Forsaken armor pieces, which are the ones that drops from the Barons that have static rolls for some reason.
Yeah.
You can't roll randomly. So I'm kind of glad that those are going to be now Armor 2.0 compatible. But I mean, we're talking about like every armor set. Like you can go back to Leviathan and get a Leviathan set,
right.
Armor 2.0, and Escalation Protocol, which had some of like the craziest looking gear that Destiny had brought for in that time. So it's really cool. I'm stoked that they did that change.
Yeah, because when they mentioned that they were going to be bringing all these armor sets forward back in the Vidoc a month or two ago, they made it seem like it was going to take a while, like we weren't going to be getting this for like another year or something. So I was really pleasantly surprised to hear that all currently available armor is going to be 2.0 compatible when Shadowkeep comes out. You're just going to have to they're not going to go into your inventory and swap the stuff you already have to 2.0. You're going to have to recollect it. But yeah, if you want to go run Eater of Worlds, if you want to look like a beetle, you can go and get that stuff and it'll be Armor 2.0, which is fantastic. That's great.
Well, I guess I won't be able to go to the vendors and buy it though, right? Like if I wanted to go to Brother Vance and buy the armor from him, like the year one armor that you can purchase, will that be 2.0?
Yes.
Yeah.
All the vendors are getting their stuff upgraded to 2.0.
Oh.
It also seems like the activities as well. So
yes.
Like if you do Last Wish, 2.0. Everything.
Yep.
Right.
All the drop sources, whether it's vendor or planetary drop sources, are going to be Armor 2.0 compatible.
I'm going to have to stop myself from auto-deleting it. Because I'm in such a habit of just deleting whatever drops right now. Like, I'm going to have to, and I guarantee it, like the first day, I'm going to forget. I'm going to get all this stuff that drops. I'm like, oh, I don't need that. Delete. I promise you.
Want it.
You're going to have to start looking at those core 6 stats now. Like those are really the thing that you're going to want to look at.
Oh man, it's going to be a whole wild system of trying to figure out what the maximum stat rolls can be.
Yeah.
Well, cross-referencing and building. Ugh.
Didn't they also say that there was going to be some synergy between certain weapon mods and elementals? Like,
oh yeah.
I want to say that
shotgun perks are only on arc armor.
Yeah. So like
fusion perks are only on solar, with the exception of maybe the class item. There's some confusion there.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to work some
and
shit
cannons
out.
are void, right? So it's gonna be void helmet because you're gonna want it enhanced hand cannon targeting. I'd probably run solar gauntlets for fusion rifle scavenger. I don't know what rolls on chests right now. Honestly, I think it's where your unflinching armor goes, right? I think unflinching perks roll on chest pieces. I think
something like that.
Boots are most likely reserves, which isn't going to play a huge part. But like, I feel like boots people look for high mobility. I forget what it's called. Perk you put on that you turn corners faster.
Yeah.
But I think some of those, like a lot of those mods, also have like a universal mod as well. That for example, like for like a fusion rifle. Like solar or something like that, you could use like the universal mod and still be able to use that.
As I understand it, the specialized perks, the specialized mods are going to have an energy affinity. And if what I remember reading from Luke Smith, because he went on Twitter and clarified a lot of this stuff afterwards, basically, if you match the mod with the correct affinity on your armor, you're going to get a discount on socketing that mod. But if you don't, it's going to cost more points to socket it in there. So I don't think it's going to be that you can't socket those mods. It's just that it's going to cost more if the armor doesn't have the correct energy affinity.
So I can put shotgun scavenger on a void
I think so.
Gauntlet, but instead of costing 5 energy, it might cost 7.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think he even
did try to clarify it, but I'm not good with reading comprehension, and I didn't quite get what he was saying when he said
No, it's a little confusing. I have it up in front of me. It's where he was talking about general mods like hand cannon, reloader, and whatnot that'll cost like 4 to 5 energy, and don't have any sort of elemental affinity, so you can equip them across the board. But there are going to be general mods and whatnot that you can work with. But if you want to specialize your weapon, it requires matching armor's energy type, and then you'll get an energy discount on socketing the mod. That's what he said. So I'm assuming that's going to apply to other stuff as well. We'll have to see. That's a particularly confusing bit of wording for the mod system here.
You wonder if it's over-engineered, but when I talk to people on Twitter about it, they really made a case in point that of like steamrolling mods and how having the synergy kind of prevents that. Whereas, you know, hand cannon can only be on a certain one.
Yeah.
And now if I want to run arc and I'm using a shotgun, well, it turns out that if I wanted to run arc gauntlets or arc helmet, it's like AR enhanced targeting or something silly like that. So I can't match my preferred kinetic or primary weapon with my preferred energy or special weapon is kind of what it seemed like at face value. But I think it's going to be something we just have to physically see before we know truly what's going on.
It.
You know, I feel like it's hard to describe.
It is, and the little bit of confusion around that, I think, is perfect evidence of it being hard to describe. But we'll have to see. I'm going to have to go back through and watch that live stream again and see if I can clarify any of that kind of stuff as we move forward. All right, what else did we have from the director's cut? We mentioned the base power level of everybody's being brought up to 750.
Right.
That's a little crazy. Wasn't expecting that to happen.
Right.
But they're doing it so that everybody has the same sort of jumping off point when Shadowkeep comes out. And I suppose it's not really that surprising because they did that before when they made the Power Surge bounty. That boosted everybody up to, what was it,
690.
690
this season.
Yeah.
690.
So they're doing that with the entire game. They just, except there's not going to be a bounty this time or a mission. Everything in your inventory is just bloop, being brought up to 750.
Yeah.
So stop infusing. Right.
Stop
This
infusing.
might be good for a day. It really depends on what the activities for leveling or what the end game activities that we get access to right off the get go. It'd be kind of neat to have a new activity to play in that isn't the end game activity that builds us up to that. Like if we went into an encounter that gives us 775 gear, 800 gear, whatnot, and not go back and run a bunch of milestones to grind to 800 and so on and so forth. Dude, I no more milestones. No more.
Yeah. Should we maybe like talk a little bit about like maybe some damage numbers and maybe like some PvP and
yeah.
I think before we get into PvP, the damage thing was interesting. And I think the biggest thing with damage was taking away a lot of the buffs that you can combine was huge.
Yeah.
So the way that buffs are going to work in Shadowkeep and forward is you'll get, no matter what buffs are active to give you better damage, you're only going to be able to use the one that gives you the highest buff at that time. So, and I forget what the examples were. One of them was like the Lumina buff and being in a Well of Radiance and having a Weapons of Light bubble or shield in front of it. Some of those were only going to stack in a way that only one of them was going to give you a damage buff at a time. So there would be no reason to use all of them at the same time, essentially.
Right.
Is what I gathered from that
Yeah.
board. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
Yes. Yeah, so if you hit it with like your Titan, if you punch it with your Titan, if you
you're talking about melting point, right?
Right. If you I don't Titan. So if you hit it with melting point,
nobody Titans.
You hit it with a tractor cannon or you hit it with Well of Radiance, it's going to like pick the top damage number. It's going to pick whichever one does the most amount of damage, and that's going to be your base.
Yeah.
For as long as it lasts before the next. So instead of throwing everything at a boss at the same time, the new strategy is going to be to time which ones you use.
I got my well down. It runs out in 12 seconds. Then you go up and do melting point. That runs out. Then you tractor can't. Like you're just gonna. It's going to be more of a dance.
Shattering strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you pop them all at the same time, rather than mixing and boosting your damage multiplicatively, or in some cases exponentially, as happens in the game right now, the game is just going to pick, okay, whichever one of these currently active abilities gives you the highest damage buff, that's the only one it's going to read. And the rest it's not going to bother with. Now, Luke did go on to clarify that armor, or weapon and armor benefits, stuff like Rampage, Kill Clip, that can still stack.
Yeah.
All of that stuff can still stack. They're only changing abilities. So stuff like Hammer Strike, Well of Radiance, Empowering Rift, the buff you get from Lumina and whatnot. And they're doing that because over the past couple of weeks, we've even seen people basically one phasing raid bosses all across the board with absolutely ridiculous damage stacking builds, and that couldn't continue on into the future. They had to do something about that. So this has been a long time coming, and at least they fixed, Tether. Tether doesn't erase, not buff heavy ammo anymore.
Tether, and they're adding weapons of
light.
Weapons of light to the Titan bubble. So Titans, you can end game now, outside of melting point. Congratulations,
Bubble Titans. Bubble Titans are now allowed into the raid. Welcome. You can come in and drop.
You've been absent for the past 3 years. Welcome back. Helmet Saint 14 has value as well now.
Oh man,
yeah.
One of the best helmets that ever existed in the game has been obsolete for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Dude, that actually might become the strat for like Crown of Sorrow now, because you can just drop that, blind those thrall, and focus on damage.
Well, I know. I was like, all of the strats that I remember from D1 where you'd use the bubble, you were still standing in one place. So I was like, how is that going to keep that, like, change the philosophy of making it more kinetic boss encounters, right?
Yeah.
And so, like,
that's on the bosses to create an encounter like that. That's not on our characters to do it. That's on Bungie to create an environment, which may not be possible.
Right.
But we've been calling for this. I know I don't know the last time I had a conversation. We've been talking about having an encounter that wasn't stand still and do a bunch of damage.
Yeah. And like, so he addressed that, though. I believe it was in the third one. Or
yeah, he talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was like, how is that going to change any of the strategies? And they're like, well, at least you can run through the bubble and grab the buff. Like, you don't have to be standing in it necessarily to be able to do it. So
right.
I don't know. If that's the answer at the end of the day, if like we have a boss where we have to run and somebody's like, guys, we need three bubble titans to create a train, and like,
a train of safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, ultimately, a lot of fights are always going to drop down to, okay, drop whatever well you have in the safest spot and DPS from there so that you can focus on damage and not on ads or anything like that. And ultimately, that's on Bungie to create an encounter that forces you to move around. When I think about that, my mind always jumps to Oryx. That fight forced everybody to move around because, one, you can't damage Oryx normally. Right. They don't do a lot of raid bosses like that where you actually can't damage the raid boss outside of mechanics. But that fight required that you move around. It required that you follow certain mechanics, kill certain ads in certain different places simultaneously. So there wasn't really a whole lot of, okay, sit here, wait, shoot the guy until his arms go down, and then go back and stand in your spot. It required you to actually remember how to do certain things. And ultimately, I think that's what Bungie's going to, if they want to get away from the whole sit still and shoot kind of thing, they're going to have to build around that, because ultimately that's what's always going to happen. With the amount of power we have and the weapons that we have, we're going to find a spot that's safe and blow somebody's head up.
Yeah. People will still find it.
Oh, just absolutely.
Leave it to Glad. Leave it to Chevy. Like,
guys, we found this one corner where there's some geometry that blocks all damage. Stand here.
Yeah.
It'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll happen.
I think the only sit still phase for Oryx was like when you're shooting the chest. And even then, it was a DPS check rather than a damage phase.
Yeah, I mean,
there was follow mechanics.
There's the dance party in the middle.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what wound up happening. People would wound up dropping bubbles and whatnot in mid to get ready for the chest popping party before everybody had to go grab their bombs.
I don't want to make it seem like we are ignorant to the fact that when you're playing Crown of Sorrow, there's a lot of moving around. When you're playing Spire of Stars, there's a lot of moving parts, especially Spire of Stars, a lot of moving parts to it. And even Eater of Worlds, like, we acknowledge the fact that that you have to go and do and execute certain things in order to get to a certain point. What I'm tired of specifically is a damage phase in which we just stand still and put on our whatever boots, I can't think of what they're called at this current moment in time, and unload every bit of ammo that we have into a boss. Like, I've been done with that kind of encounter. I want a little bit more out of it. I'm looking for a more run and gun. I'm looking for maybe not even like this massive DPS boss where he's got 1 billion health. Maybe give us like a number of really small bosses to go and hunt down and take out.
No, that's That's neat.
You know, so like that's what I'm specifically talking about when it comes to these sort of encounters, and what I'm hoping that Bungie's kind of maybe they're getting bored of making these too. You know, maybe they're getting kind of tired of it and want to add a little bit more to the flavor. So we'll see what the future holds. I like these changes. I think they're beneficial. I think they're going to make people have to think a whole lot more, strategize, and communicate a whole lot more, which is what these endgame activities are ultimately all about.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I didn't necessarily understand, where they were talking about like the 999999 showing up on your hub, like they were talking about that curve sharpening into a hockey stick. Does that mean we'll have damage values, or like?
I think it means we're gonna have damage values, but what I don't want to see is what happens when you're killing like public event bosses, where you launch like 6 rockets and it does like 200 damage.
Right.
It's where I feel like I'm not being very powerful anymore. Instead of how much does it cost to add another character? Can I go over 1 million in damage instead of having the hockey stick curve? Because what that means to me, and Nem, maybe you can shed some light on this for us. What that means to me is that we're not getting nerfed, but the damage numbers are going to be decreased. Like, we're going to do the same amount of damage. If you look at the health bar, it's going to go down by the same amount, but instead of a number of 9999, we're going to get a number of like 860. 2000.
That's what I understood of that part of the director's cut.
Okay.
Because I mean, I think he did emphasize that like the damage itself is not being nerfed. It's just how the game reads the value. Because I think at that point, it's because we have gotten so ungodly like powerful that I don't think there's a register for it.
Right. And I think it might have even been former guest Devious who was actually able to put math behind the numbers that were over 999 or whatever it was. And he was like, oh, this is actually, because he's a madman. He was, oh, this is 1.3457 million or whatever the number was. Right. He found a way to mathematically equate what those numbers were that were above. So you would actually do damage higher than 999,000, but it couldn't read any higher damage than that.
Right.
So now we're not going to be able to get to that number, or that number is going to be accurate in the amount of damage that it does. So that's going to change. But like I said, I don't want to unload all of this crazy, hellacious amount of ammunition and see numbers like 2 and 7. Like, am I wrong? Like,
guys, the numbers that you get in Gambit.
Guys, did you check this out? I just did it too.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
You know, we expect it and we're used to it in Crucible, you know, with players having 198 to 200 and whatever health. But like when I'm fighting a Dreg on the EDZ and I headshot him with a Thorn and I see 4 damage and he blows up and dies, I'm like, okay, that kind of steals a little bit of the power fantasy, right?
Over 9,000.
Yeah.
He's over 9,000.
That's how I interpreted it anyway.
Yeah. Apparently, it's just going to be some kind of way that they're recalculating the way damage is displayed. Because he goes on later on to say that they're not actually changing how much damage we're putting out, just the way that it shows up in the UI. So
yeah.
Maybe it'll be a bit more consistent when Shadowkeep comes out. Because, yeah, with the way the delta scaling works, and the reason that happens is because when you load into, like, say, the EDZ, the enemies in the EDZ are all, like, level 5. Like, power level 5 to 20. And your power level 750. The game basically equalizes you and your damage versus those level 20 enemies. So your damage looks super duper small when you shoot them. It's a weird way the delta scaling works in Destiny, and hopefully we'll see a bit of a change to that. When I shoot a Dreg in the head, I want to see 50,000 damage. I want to feel like I'm doing something there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That Dreg needs to explode in a ball of ether if I shoot him in the toe.
There you go.
Oh man. Heavy ammo.
What else?
The heavy ammo changes. We're now everybody will get a little piece, it seems.
Oh yeah, like D1 style.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I kind of like that.
Me too.
As long as it like just shows up like once mid-match and not within the first 10 seconds of a game. I'd be okay with it, because I mean, even in Destiny 1 we had those matches where it's like if the match went on long enough, a second crate would spawn like almost towards the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm fine with that. But
I want to see how it plays out because the last thing I really want to see is 6 hammerheads.
that's another thing that needs
Yeah.
to be looked at LMGs as a whole, but that's a whole separate conversation.
You know, he specifically mentioned Hammerhead in that article, basically saying hey, one person gets it and then they have it basically until Heavy comes up again.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they're actually going to be lowering the amount of ammunition you get per brick in PvP. So hopefully it won't be too insane when you grab that heavy ammo box. And the way it's going to work is when somebody grabs heavy, I'm assuming everybody else on that player's team is going to have a set period of time where they can interact with the box itself. I'm guessing it's going to be 5 to 10 seconds to grab heavy. So no more of Aura going on an absolute tear, clearing every single enemy away from the heavy box. And then as he turns around looking like John McClane, some rando goes, "Oh, hey, heavy!"
Some blueberry walks up with the circus music, with
a sword. Like I can use this.
Just how it always plays out too.
Every single time. So no more of that nonsense when Shadowkey comes out. I'm psyched about that. I like that. I don't want a bunch of hammerheads running the game, but hopefully with the change to ammo, it's not going to be too crazy. That's good.
Yeah.
I like this change. Going back to kind of the way things were in D1.
It also opens up an opportunity to Nova Bomb 6 people at the same time again, which
so delicious.
Yeah, you're right.
Aura.
Yeah.
It's like music to my ears right now.
Oh, I know. Damn Void Warlock.
He is here.
If I could just walk up to Heavy and just smash it real hard with my arc staff, oh, so good. And if Tether
that's gonna be good.
Tether gets better,
No, Tether's still trash. It's still awful.
No faith, Aura.
No faith. The changes they made to what is bottom tree is encouraging, but they didn't mention making the super any better. So we'll see how that plays out. But Tether is a Destiny 1 super that has not been altered to function the way that it needs to in Destiny 2. And that was I could have a separate podcast only about Tether as a top tree hunter main.
Tether
We're not
talk
going to
with
do
Aura.
it. I'll save you guys I'll save all of you of the ranting that will occur when I shoot my Tether, and it takes 8 years to shoot, and another 20. I will have paid off my mortgage before it procs. I'll save you guys that story.
I just picture you like in a suit on like daytime television. Tether Talk with Aura, and you're like,
Yeah.
hey guys, what's going on today on Tether Talk? It still doesn't work.
Other things that don't work as intended, like thumbtacks. Anyway. Back to the
back to Crucible.
Back to PvP.
Crucible. What a facelift.
Yeah, another interesting change. Of course, we talked about it really quickly. They're removing the comp and quick play playlist, replacing comp with 3v3. I think they said survival, right?
Survival, which now awards glory, and an option for solo queue survival, which will also reward glory.
That's what I'm talking about, Bungie. There we go. Good change, I think. They're getting rid of quick play and basically replacing it with what they're calling classic mix, which is going to be clash, control, and supremacy. I want to believe. I want to say
is supremacy,
which is going to be the only playlist completely void of skill-based matchmaking.
Yeah, it's
the only one that will have connection-based matchmaking only will be the classic mix playlist come Shadowkeep.
Which is good. That's good. It makes me think about what they're doing because they're adding another playlist for control. They say they want that to be kind of the entry-level PvP playlist. But then they talk about some changes that they're going to be making to the skill-based matchmaking algorithm. Because we're going to have a lot of new players when New Light goes live.
So this is word for word from the document itself. We've added 6v6 control as its own playlist. With the potential influx of new players this fall, we want to have a playlist that signals to new players that this is where to start. We feel like 6v6 control is the right starting place when introducing new friends to Destiny. I have questions. We'll get into it later.
So, there's been, little back end tests on D1 and D2 that show basically when you're a brand new player and you first get added into Crucible, you are kind of already separated from the main environment.
Yeah.
You're put into I can't remember. I did a little bit of testing with this, and there was a lot of people who tested with it.
Was it like 5 games?
It's like 5 to 10 games, something like that, where you are separated, absolutely separated from like the normal PvP population. And then after you finish those 5 to 10 games, I guess an ELO or however Bungie designates skill is assigned to you, and you're kind of dropped into general population. And if you were to go and start a new character on Destiny 1 or 2, you would definitely notice it. Like I remember testing this a couple of times with about 4 or 5 different accounts, and there was a clear difference in what I was experiencing in those first 5 to 6 games on new accounts versus what I experienced immediately after that. And I'd imagine that they're basically going to be expanding that sort of system. That quarantine is probably going to be a bit bigger for new players as New Light rolls out and we get an influx. I think we're going to get an absolutely massive influx of new players, both on PC and on the available consoles, because the game going free to play is already huge. With a game as big and as fun as Destiny, I think that's a major change. And okay, yeah, sure, protect the blueberries for a little bit. They can protect the blueberries while they learn the ropes before you drop them into the big leagues with everybody else. But
or it's just sitting there, just like foaming at the teeth.
Well, no, I enjoy playing against average or below average players for an amount of time. It's fun to play really well.
Yeah.
And it's nice to just kind of relax and not have to use my like dedicated, this is where I'm most efficient and effective with loadout. Like if I want to try shotguns, if I want to try different primaries, I don't have to play against the top 1% and do that. It has its place, but I don't want to enjoy myself to the point where I am pushing players away from enjoying what this game has to offer in terms of the community. I don't ever want to be, and I guarantee you I've done it inadvertently. I never want to be a person who makes somebody like delete this game and say, this game's stupid, I don't want to play it, I'm doing whatever. I don't think players who are brand new to a game deserve to be in a top 1% PvP environment.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you're foolish if you do. I really don't think that that's where they belong. I just don't know how you isolate it. And my question is like, all right, they're going to make 6v6 control. So what's going to stop me from getting me and my steamrolling buddies, Shed and Starlight and Kiri and Mad and going in there and just, I mean, we beat people today like 69-3 today. What's going to stop me from doing that? Is there something keeping me out of matching them? Are they going to make it so that if you have under a certain amount of hours playtime, that's the only way that this play option in the director is available to you? Like if you're a brand new player, you get access to 6v6 control, and once you've hit a certain amount of hours, it goes away, and now you've graduated to being part of the community. Like what's going to meter that?
Yeah, I have no idea how they're going to measure that sort of thing out. Like Dan was saying, in D1, I think it was based off of the number of PvP matches you played, because I started noticing an immediate difference after I got out of like 10 games. I noticed an immediate jump in quality, to the point where those first 5 to 10 games, there were people who didn't understand radar. It was like people who didn't understand the kind of players you never run into, the people who never look at their radar, who don't move and shoot. If they're shooting, they have to stop. And and after that like first couple of games, there was a clear difference. So I don't know if it's going to be game based. It could be hour based, like you said there, or it could be based on the number of hours you play there. But
I want players like that to have a place where they can exist and learn and hone their skills. Because if you've never played Destiny, playing Crucible is not a great place to learn how the game plays.
Nope. But that first mission in Destiny 1 is, though. Like, with New Light, they're bringing that in.
Oh yeah, you're
right. Like, that's like the perfect place. They literally hold your hand.
They make you jump. Right.
They hold your hand the entire way, and then you beat a boss at the end, and you feel like a badass.
Yeah.
And so
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So they're gonna hold your hand. They're gonna pat you on the ass, and then they're gonna be like, "Have a good day."
Yeah. Still, Crucible's not the place you go after that, though. It's still
right.
not.
But that 6v6 playlist might be.
Only if I'm not allowed to get in there.
Yeah. If it's grayed out for you?
Only if players like us, all four of us for that matter, aren't allowed to get into that playlist and play against those players. It's the only way that I see it working.
Aura, you overestimate my ability.
Against somebody who's never played this game, Dan, I gotta tell you, I don't.
Okay.
And, based on what Luke is saying here, I don't think you're going to have to worry about that. It seems like players who are brand new to the game are going to be protected. And the only playlist that is going to favor connection over skill is going to be the classic mix. And remember, 6v6 control is going to be a separate playlist from that. I'm pretty sure that the skill-based algorithm is going to be active in the 6v6 control because it's active in the weekly playlist we have right now. Like when Lockdown or Breakthrough or whatever, or even Mayhem, whenever those separate weekly playlists go active, those have skill-based matchmaking live in them. The only playlist that doesn't, or rather favors connection, is the quick play playlist, and that's where Classic is going to be. And that's where you're going to find your boy TBL. Because unlike Aura, I'm happy to pub stomp all day, all night, 24 hours, 24/7. Hey man, when I jumped into my first game of Modern Warfare 2 10 years ago, want to know what happened my first game? I had a dude drop an AC-130 and a nuke on me. And I said, this is awesome. But not everybody's like that. And it looks like I don't think this kind of change is just going to be active in the 6v6 control playlist. The way it's kind of stated in the article, I think it's going to be
everywhere.
It's going to be a universal thing for those new accounts. So that's good. And,
it was so weird. The terminology is like it's going to be a sweat fest sometimes, and it's not going to be a sweat fest sometimes. And I'm like, that's how it is right now.
Yeah,
kind of the current situation. So we'll see how that all pans out.
I'm definitely there with you. I think people who are just jumping into the game for the first time, they shouldn't have to deal with that because that's a huge turnoff for somebody who's going in there and is just figuring out how to move. Because enemy guardians do not move like NPCs. Nope. They do not move like the Thrall and the Vandals and the captains that you're fighting. A decent hunter is going to be utilizing every ounce of that verticality against you, and it's a completely different experience. And slow walking in and letting people get that getting their training wheels exercise is probably the right way to handle that.
There was actually a quite excellent Kotaku article a few months, like maybe about a month back, about just that, about somebody who like loaded in and was watching someone play versus like a heroic public event, and noticing like the way that Guardians kind of move differently in the environment.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can find that.
It's very different, and it's a lot to take in. We're all used to it because we've been playing Destiny for years, but there's a lot that goes into PvP. There's a lot of options. It's why it's so dynamic and fun to play, and in my opinion, even fun to watch. There's a lot of options and a lot of movement and a lot of things you can pull off with our Guardian game.
Did we touch on like
used to
everything going back to 3v3? Did we talk about that?
We have not.
A little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
We
So
just brought it up.
6v6 or 3v3 are your two play options. Comp is going away and being replaced by 3v3 elimination, again with the solo queue version. And I'm wondering if there's going to be other versions of 3v3. I think they had talked about there's even a couple of versions of 4v4 that might make their way into the Crucible labs.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be experimenting, but what I'm hoping for is that too many options is a really good way of separating the player base out and only playing the same people over and over and over again, which is currently an issue.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that we don't get like 8 million different options for Crucible where the bulk of the community only exists in one spot and I'm continuously matching the same people. And I don't know, what was the one game mode? Salvage? What was the 3v3 versions of Destiny 1? It was Skirmish, right?
Skirmish,
and Salvage?
And Salvage. Yep.
Salvage was that one game mode where you actually got punished for capturing the point?
Oh my God.
Ignore the OBJ. Just kidding. That was so weird. But that was the huge problem with Destiny 1. We had way too many PvP playlists.
Yeah.
And the population got just split off, 6 ways from Sunday. But with this, I think we've got Classic Mix. We've got the Control playlist. We've got 3v3 and then solo 3v3.
And Rumble. Hey, Luke had mentioned that Rumble's not, or Cosmo. Somebody had mentioned that Rumble's not going away anywhere.
So we've got 5 playlists that are going to be coming in right now, and I think that might be a decent enough mix. If you're not counting Crucible Labs, which is going to be continuing on as their experimental game mode. And I think that they said they're going to be having 3v3 a limb in Crucible Labs first as a way to kind of test that out. Looking forward to
in Widow's Court.
On Widow's Court and
what
Twilight Gap.
Is it Rusted? Well, there's one other one that's coming back too.
Twilight Gap.
Twilight Gap.
Yeah, Widow's Court.
Very happy about it. Widow's
odd
Court,
choices. I feel like Widow's Court's an odd choice, but they had mentioned briefly that scout rifles and weapon changes were coming. They didn't get into what those changes were.
Yes.
Yeah.
But maps like Widow's Court kind of lend themselves to longer lanes, so I could see where a buff to scout rifles would become a bit more substantial in an environment like that.
They also mentioned that there are several maps that will be pulled from rotation that aren't.
What do you think they're going to be, Nem?
I'm really hoping for 2 particular maps.
Tell me what they are. Tell me.
Equinox.
No.
And Firebase Echo.
Oh, okay. All right.
What do you mean? Firebase Echo is so good. You just jump up into the thing, and then the whole battle only part. Anyway, yeah, it's fine. Equinox, you're silly, dude.
I mean, Equinox, aka here's my Jade Rabbit. that's what that map is for me. That's the only map I can use a scout rifle on, and it's such a weird map. Such a very strange map.
Can we talk about scout rifles a little bit?
What do you want to talk about scout rifles for?
They're getting a buff.
They are getting a buff.
And you guys thought laning sucked now. Just you wait.
Oh, I can hear it. I can hear the sound of the Mida. Tink, 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 tink already.
They need the biggest buff in PvE, if I'm going to be honest with you. There are serviceable scout rifles in PvP. It is PvE that they are just atrocious.
Yeah.
Like, hand cannon range and a hand cannon on one shot and a scout rifle is like pink. Like the bullet might as well bounce off them.
Yeah.
Like, so they do need a change. But Bungie spent all this time talking about the fact that they don't want people who stand still during engagements. They want fluid movement. And scout rifles are not good for that. So I'm really curious as to how this is going to pan out or what kind of changes we're going to see and what's going to be the standout star for scout rifles, because it wasn't it seems like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago in Destiny 2 Year 1 where Mida Multi-Tool ruled the world. And people hated it. Well, are we going back to that?
Yeah. It's also funny because, like, I don't know if any of you guys feel this way, but after bow and arrows kind of came into the mix, I was like, oh, you don't need to do anything with scout rifles now. Like, bow and arrows just took the entire thing for me. Like,
I don't know, man. I haven't touched a bow and arrow almost since
Hush.
Hush. I mean, Hush really, but if I'm talking about like in PvP.
A good player with a quick draw hand cannon and a bow will run an entire map.
I have seen that happen.
They are hard to kill.
It's rare.
Yeah.
But I do remember getting absolutely destroyed by this dude. He was running double bows.
That too, with Archer's Tempo or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to message him. Like, dude, you are nasty with those bows. Like, I could not get the drop on this guy. His peaking was so good with those things. It was unbelievable. But I don't know. I think it's certain scout rifles for sure. Like, I really enjoy Night's Watch. It's probably one of my favorite scout rifles right now. Yeah. And Jade Rabbit and Polaris Lance are both so sticky and so strong.
Yeah, the Lance is excellent.
I get so many cut and runs just like shoved down my throat in the loot pool that I don't know what would actually make me want to use one of them things, man. Because they're just throwing at me. They're just like everything I pick up an engram, cut and run. Great. Fucking great, man.
Just what you wanted, man.
Yeah, just I don't know.
I think it's hard too though, because like most of the D2 maps aren't really built for that kind of weapon. Because I mean, most of them were designed for like 4v4 encounters. So
Yeah.
I don't know if scout rifles really fit in some of them, and that's probably why Equinox like is highlighted by scout rifles, because it's such an open like map.
But getting the first shot on a sniper with a scout rifle does not guarantee you're going to knock them off target. I've been sniped just so many more times than I can even count after getting the first shot on a sniper.
Sometimes it helps them.
Yeah, sometimes it puts them on target. Their time to kill is atrocious. I think the biggest thing for me is I just want to see players be able to use what they're most comfortable with, and no matter the environment. I'm really hoping that this is a significant increase for players who want to use scout rifles in PvE. But I mean, I think Dan hits the nail right on the head, because bows are just such a better option.
Yeah,
they're just such a better option in so many different ways.
Yeah. Well, have you guys played D1 lately?
No.
Not in the last couple of months. No.
So I started a hunter over there like probably like a couple months ago when D2 was feeling stale. I was like, I'll take this nostalgia shot. Let's go. And dude, I miss the feel of scout rifles in Destiny 1. I think I've said it before here. Because they feel meatier, they feel like they have more weight, and maybe it's just like them in the post like Destiny like post Bungie caring about patching them, but they ended up in a really good spot, and I wish for something like that in Destiny 2, because I was all about scouts in Destiny 1. That was my big thing, and I haven't had one that felt good. Today I used like no feelings on Equinox and was doing some work, but like
it's a meaty feeling scout, man.
Yeah, and like that's what I miss. I miss it feeling like there's some heft behind it. So
I wish there was one top performer of each weapon class that maybe even the way to balance them is that they all have the same time to kill. At the top of all the weapon class. I don't know how bows fit into that with draw time maybe, but like I wish that there was an opportunity for people to use any kind of weapon type to play how they want to play, and it's just not the case. It hasn't been the case like that. I mean, this is one of the most eclectic versions of a meta that we've seen in terms of Crucible and PvE, but there's still things that are just, I mean, I had to use the Suros. What was I using AR kills for, dudes? Was there a Solstice armor that required it, or maybe I was just doing the Triumph for the Masterwork version where I'm using like the Suros regime. It wasn't terrible, but like
Suros
a really good player with another weapon
in a 6v6 environment.
Yeah, so but like if I match a lobby in sixes right now, I'm not going to see like 6 different weapons in people's spot. There's like 1 or 2 defining weapons. It wouldn't be the worst thing if we kind of saw maybe, 6 different players who were all equal skill level that would use 6 different weapons to engage. I think that a buff to scouts and a buff to ARs would bring those up into.
I mean, there's also quite a few weapons as well that kind of are super strong. I mean, the blast furnace is gnarly.
Still good.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking strong. LMGs, as we've talked about it before, need a huge range damage drop off.
They shouldn't have more stability than an AR.
You're right.
I mean, that's hard to do with maybe add more visual recoil on mouse and keyboard. But like even then, it's just they do so much damage at such a ridiculous range.
Yeah.
And like I should not be getting out sniped by a hammerhead at sniper rifle or scout rifle range. Well, and it has happened.
Yeah, and then you have ricochet rounds on like say a hammerhead. And that's a whole other animal too.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. There's a couple of things that we haven't touched up on the director's cuts still. One of them is pretty close to home because it was one of my favorite activities.
Gambit. Oh, I thought you were gonna say Reckoning.
You get out. So Luke Smith started to address Gambit and Gambit Prime in Highlander reference, there can only be one. And, you know, that's either Gambit Classic or Gambit Prime. None of which, I mean, I'm inclined to say original Gambit because there are certain aspects of Prime that I don't like, but neither one of those two game modes could be viable alone at the moment. So, like, Gambit Prime is a lot, and that one's the most popular choice for people to want to leave solely because it's shorter. You know, it's the one round as opposed to traditional Gambit. It's 2 rounds, or it can go up to a third one, and you in between rounds you have the loadings, the transmat
Scene.
intro. Yeah, scene. Thank you. Words are hard. Yeah. But I personally feel like I can go into traditional Gambit by myself and have more leniency in there than in Prime. Because in Prime, there's a lot of factors in there that can go against you. It's 1 round. If you're going up against a well-stacked team that are all running armor, you know, like the full Notorious sets, and you're in there by yourself with blueberries that are still working on their green Solstice gear, just using that as an example.
Yep.
You're very much going to be at a disadvantage there. You know, if they have top tier invaders, if they have, you know, proper Reapers and stuff like that, they're going to have their Primeval incredibly fast. And this poses a problem, especially against the people that play by themselves. Imagine if Gambit Prime stays in its current state. The people who are trying to work their way towards resets for Dredgen, or whatever it is that they're going for, imagine once they get to Legendary, that climb is going to be ridiculous. Because as it stands right now, I'm not sure if they're going to change it in the future. You only get Infamy if you win when you hit Legendary. So, I don't know. I think both game modes need an absolute, like, kind of rework. Heavy is kind of rampant as well as with all the armament mods. Invasions need to be tweaked as well, both in Prime and in traditional Gambit. Because in traditional Gambit, I think the cooldown is like 10 seconds during the Primeval phase. So you can just consistently keep going in and out. So I don't know. I think they both need a mode to, or they both need some tweaking. But I've seen some ridiculous things being suggested for, like, removing heavy ammo entirely from Gambit. Like, come on.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Good Lord. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I wouldn't want to imagine going through a whole, like, round of Gambit without.
Imagine doing that Primeval damage, peppering them down with your primary, because not everybody has Mountaintop.
And not everybody wants to run freaking grenade launchers. Snooze fest. I'm not envious of Bungie on this one.
Right.
Between the two, I'm really not. And I don't, regardless of what happens, I would blow my mind if they took away all of the work that people did for Reckoner and for all the gear they acquired. And I've done it. Yep. I've done this full set and the entire armor collections because I'm a crazy person. It would blow my mind if that went away.
Yeah.
I could see, I mean, I don't know what you do on the back end to make any of this work. Do you make it so that Gambit Prime armor can't slot any kind of mods that would allow you to get any additional ammo to drop other than what you spawn in with? Like, what if you spawned in with power? Everybody spawned in with a set amount of ammunition and nothing else would drop the rest of the match. So you had to be strategic in how you used it. Would that solve the problem? So that if I don't kill a taken guy with a grenade, I get infinite ammunition. Like, so there's certain aspects of things that could be tweaked. You could literally disable all other perks that exist outside of the game, outside of the Gambit spectrum, so that only perks that are relevant on Reckoning gear are. That's
what I was thinking too. But, like, how hard could that be to just disable, like, heavy ammo finder only in PvE Gambit, as opposed to it not affecting it outside of, like,
sweet child. You think heavy ammo finder works? You're the cutest.
It does.
Oh, come here. I want to pinch your cheeks. We don't know if it works until it's glowing on the ground, Nem. One of the
That's
changes
right.
coming. with
Now we
Shadow
will.
Keep. Yeah, now
that's
we'll know
gonna
if
be
it
cool.
actually functions.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be cool.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, I really have no idea what they could really do to fix Gambit. I do believe, Nim, you and I talked about this. I do get the feeling they're probably going to axe normal Gambit, take Prime
Unfortunate.
as a base, and then alter a bunch of things about it. Maybe get rid of the 3-week grind to get Gambit Prime armor, make that a bit more accessible, and tweak some of the perks that are available on it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I
Which
have
is
no idea what they
unfortunate
do with
because
that game.
Prime is just not my jam.
Yeah,
Like I got Reckoner and
not a
like
lot of people.
I like certain aspects of both, and I think that when you're tired of one, you can go into the other and kind of like decompress. So having just specifically like one version of Gambit might not be the answer. I mean, I think they need to free up space for the game.
yeah.
I just think it's funny that Gambit is what's on the chopping block versus some of the other stuff that might exist in certain other places. You know,
Mhm.
like we have 2 different versions of a forge. Actually, we have 3 different versions of a forge if you go back and consider what the forge from year 1 Osiris gave us. So is it possible that we take forges and we reduce the ammo pool into Menagerie and do the same thing for the Curse of Osiris gear and put that in Menagerie and get rid of some of these replacement just there for the sake of it drops, like the Exodus Down armor set?
Yeah.
Or weapons that nobody gives a shit about, like certain shotguns or certain fusion rifles that might be existent in the loot pool for Menagerie, and replace it with that. Would that free up more space than reducing Gambit to one specific version at this point in time? Like, as they experiment, maybe a Gambit Labs is a good thing to introduce.
Yeah.
And give us an opportunity to consume the new content coming down the line. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point too, like Gambit is not so much of an important thing to look at, rather than just kind of like, hey, nix one and maybe tweak things here and there, just for, you know, space sake, I suppose. But it's just kind of a bummer that like the mode that I literally have like about 200 plus hours in alone is like getting chopped.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see ultimately what they do with that mode moving forward.
What's it going to mean for dredging? Are we going to get a Gambit Prime that has meatball in it?
Possibly.
Like, what's it going to do to dredgings? And I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot that they have to take into consideration there. Like,
and I'm sure this is all stuff that they've either already decided or have on the chalkboard or the whiteboard, you know, in the office already. But
yeah. But
I feel like I would reduce older content before this is still relatively new. Like Season of the Drifter is only a season old.
Yeah.
It's a season old, but Gambit's been out since like Forsaken.
Since Forsaken came out, yeah.
But Reckoner hasn't been out that long, and Gambit Prime and all of the armor and none of the trial stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think you could retire things from Curse of Osiris and from even Warmind before you retire something that was 2 seasons old.
There wasn't a whole lot to cut from there.
Lot of those.
What are you talking about, dude? There's like 8 weapons. What do you mean?
Bro, there's like 8 weapons in all
of
Curse of Osiris.
You're crazy, man. I love
like,
you.
You want to cut Eater World? Or I mean, that was.
You want to get rid of an entire raid? Who is Carolina Gamer going to mean?
Don't you
That's what I'm just saying. That's basically what Curse of Osiris brought.
That's the most passion I've
weapons
seen from Dan in a long time.
Yeah.
Not cool.
I don't know.
Not cool, man.
Hey, Dan.
It's my fucking favorite. God damn it.
Dan, you'll be fine, baby bird.
You know what they could do for Eat of Worlds? They could get rid of the jumping puzzle, and then that would probably solve a lot of the world's problems.
But that's my favorite part.
That's the whole
raid. You blatantly lie to me.
It's the whole raid.
That's the whole raid.
You teach everybody to walk across the street in a line like baby ducks, and then there's one where they don't. And then
get fired out of a gun, you know.
Yeah, you get fired. Stuff. You get 007
that's one of the coolest parts
gun.
of any raid ever. That was so underrated.
That is cool.
Yeah. So aside from that, the other point that we haven't touched on is that Luke Smith was talking about Destiny's in the sense of an evolving world and an evolving game. And we kind of touched upon this earlier on in the podcast that there's activities that are going to be coming in and out as the seasons go by. But he says in one of the paragraphs here that we're going to start seeing like proper things in the world change. So, he's trying not to, he wasn't trying to spoil anything, but, he's saying that a situation is going to unfold in the moon, and over the course of the season, parts of the game are going to change, and ultimately it's going to culminate that event and then resolve it until like the content is done and over. But this resolution starts up basically the events of season 9, and we go into that rotation.
Yeah,
which is neat because we haven't really seen that in a while, since Destiny 1, basically, in a sense, with the little mini events before a DLC, so like the Blades of Crota, the Wolves Are Prowling. But this time they're kind of ramping it up with like activities and stuff like that, which is cool. Like, it shows progression in the world. Like, it shows that things are changing, and it also adds into that sense of like you kind of had to be there.
Yeah.
Depending on
which is a good
like,
thing to have.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the year 1 shader in Destiny 1, right? Like for people who played Destiny 1, like the first year you got that veterans
right.
Shader. That was the black one with the
Tiger
tiger
stripes.
stripes. And like you just had to be there and do that. There is something to be said about exclusivity as proportionate to time rather than like what you had to buy in order to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no fear of missing out. Like, I know a number of content creators who stepped away from Destiny for a number of months, came back, and within 3 weeks they were all caught up on gear that they had missed out on, titles that they didn't have. So this, to me, is a reason to come back and play the content. And we talked about this a bit earlier. Like, this can only be a good thing for Destiny. It might not be good for competitors. It might not work in everybody's the way everybody's life works out. But for the game itself, like, if I couldn't get Reckoner anymore, which I still can get, I probably would have had more of a drive to be involved in Season of the Drifter than I was. I spent the entire Season of the Drifter playing Crucible. I'd have been more inclined to play Gambit or participate in Reckoning solo, if I can only get that stuff at that time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so they're kind of doing that with the Moments of Triumph title, right? So there's like, of us here, we're of that like section of the community that was going to have it by the end of August, right? Yeah. There's somebody out there in the world who's not going to be able to get that title because just due to time and their availability. Absolutely. So I don't know.
But what you're missing out on is a title.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I don't think there's no
in a shirt. Apparently, if you wash it, bad things happen. If you wash
only
it,
if you get the nameplate. If you get the nameplate, bad things happen to it. Because that printing is different than the printing on the shirt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe don't spend the extra $5.
How's everybody know that I'm Aura if I don't have it on my shirt?
That's right. Yeah.
I know you from your haircut. So
yeah, what do you mean?
Look at that. Look at that haircut.
First time in 11 months. I don't know if I might have been growing my hair out when I started on this podcast, honestly. Maybe the first haircut I've gotten as a member of the BD team.
There we go. It's a moment of remembrance.
But yeah, so I don't know. What are some other things, like, real quick, what are a couple of other things? With, like, the UI update to Bounty Board.
UI update, yep.
And
thankful for that, because, man.
Hotkey for pursuits.
Yep.
We didn't even touch on cross save yet.
Happening this week.
Get ready.
I'm kind of worried about it.
What's that?
Just
the clan stuff?
Well, not only the clan stuff. Like, clans aren't getting expanded, fine. There's a way to work around that. I don't don't know. I like see it as like it's a great thing because you can go anywhere, but I can see it like kind of messing around with like people's like schedules and everything, and especially in clan rosters when you're like, oh, I want to see who's on, and if you see like your clan has 5 members in it when you know you have 100 members, and you're only stuck on one console, that's gonna suck. So
Yeah, I can see that causing a problem or two.
Yeah.
And also, of course, there's going to be the whole thing where just because your character is now available across all platforms doesn't mean you own the content across all of the platforms. So if you're hopping from Xbox to go play with your buddies on PS4, well, if you don't own Forsaken on PS4 or the annual pass, you might not be able to do everything.
Right.
So that's going to be a little bit of growing pains in there.
Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, Bungie will be on the stage at Gamescom for the opening night stuff, and they're going to be showing. Yeah. They're going to be showing a new scene.
The opening cinematic, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Think so.
Can't wait.
I think we're also supposed to be getting some more information about PvP and whatnot in the coming months between Gamescom and PAX. What else is going to be happening?
Oh, I think I get to try out the new sandbox in like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, you're going to PAX
Yep.
West.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be there bright and early on Saturday. I got the Saturday pass, so flying Friday, get there. I get there like at midnight, basically.
Yeah,
and get a couple hours of sleep to be at the show on Saturday.
I expect a full report on everything.
if I can manage through the lines, you will get it.
Right on.
Yeah. I think that's all the news. Yeah.
It's all the big things from the big 3-part director's cut from Luke Smith.
Apologies if we missed anything. We tried.
It's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information. We tried.
And I would definitely recommend that everybody here who hasn't had a chance to read through all of it, it is a big read, but go through it. Go through parts 1 through 3 because you get a lot of great information about the decision-making process there at Bungie and some of the things that they've been working. Some really interesting stuff, and I'm very happy we kind of got this almost sort of a one-on-one with Luke Smith, and I hope we get more of those in the future.
If we get one of these every few months, like
fine
just
with me.
The findings of the past of the past 3 months, that would be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be perfectly fine with me. Absolutely. But all right, so since we're done with that, is it time to move on to questions?
I believe
Yes, sir.
so. Yeah.
Right on.
We have quite a few questions. Turns out when you're gone for like a week, people have questions.
So we figured the secret out. We need to take more breaks.
We found the secret.
Thank you,
right.
Chad. I understand.
M. Mills asks, so is the idea of retiring content after each season an effort to keep the UI director under control?
That's a part of it, yeah. It's also about the growing, the rapidly growing game size. I think we finally got the alert for how big Shadowkeep is going to be, didn't we? It's like 60-something gigs.
It's 162 gigs
altogether.
Altogether, I think.
Yeah. That's a pretty big game, chat. And they kind of can't keep adding to that game world. So, but yeah, you know, I'd imagine the UI and the director is a part of that decision-making process. So with what they're doing with Shadowkeep and new seasons is introducing game modes and events that are going to be going away in subsequent seasons.
Right. Okay. It creates space for more content. It creates sense of urgency for the content that's relevant at that time.
Yep. That's incentive.
I think it's like 2 birds in 1 stone, honestly. I think it's twofold benefit. I like it.
The UI work looked really good on the Armor 2.0 stream as well. That looked really neat.
Very happy with it.
Yeah. Grim Fate asks, do you think they will or should offer a $100 D2 all-platform, all-content bundle?
That's an interesting question.
That'd be really cool.
So you could just have access to D2, and
how about all 4 for $100? Maybe like
But-
125, like $25 a pop for
Yeah.
because you got Stadia too. Remember
Yeah.
that Stadia is involved. So you have the consoles, you have PC, and you have Stadia being part of it. So $100 might be
like
a little on the
almost
low
sort
end.
of a universal license for
Yeah.
playing Destiny 2.
I think that would
That's
be
actually
a really good idea.
Not a bad idea. I
And
had no idea
but
what it would cost.
something like that though, it would have to be something that you purchase directly from like them because they're all individual stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I wonder what the logistics of that would work.
Is the it's the content creator pack.
The Destiny 2 content creator. Are you looking to start a Twitch channel? Heading over to Mixer. Buy
You got
the
a YouTube?
D2 content creators pack. $100 so you can have this game and all its content everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Since we are getting weapon balance, what weapon category will be dominant when Shadowkeep comes out? That's from Demon Fox 5132.
I mean, that's hard to say, man, because
Yeah.
with each not each platform, but like between PC and console, they're two different worlds. What's
Yeah.
good in console might not be good on PC. So
I think hand cannons are going to rule the roost for as long as Destiny is a entity.
Yep, I agree.
I think even
hand cannons.
DMG said himself, like I forget the terminology, but when he described it, but hand cannons are kind of like the flagship of this game. I would be shocked if something took the limelight away because it's generally associated with the highest level of skill the game has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I agree with that. But-
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really see it changing too much.
Yeah. I just want my recluse to rule the roost for as long as it can.
It's good.
It's so good. Zach K. Dixon asks, do you guys think Sparrow Racing is coming back in the future of D2?
No.
No.
They've said time and time again it costs too much money.
Yeah.
Right, but with this new model of things coming and going, I don't know. That
I mean,
could leave the door open a little bit. They've said that it costs too much money
Maybe.
a while ago. I don't know.
the player base wasn't there.
Well,
We had it and nobody did it, and
That
now
was-
everybody's calling for it.
and that was
it's gonna
that
be
was
the
with
same
a
exact thing.
publisher. That was
Huh?
with a publisher.
yeah. Okay.
Them not playing it was with a publisher, but people not playing it doesn't matter who's publishing the game.
That's
Well,
what
yeah,
I
he
mean.
was
It's like
talking about
even with the
payment.
publisher, it was
Yeah.
still
It was-
expensive, and there was
It's all
no
that money.
return on investment on that.
Not at
Yeah.
all.
And
As
they've
much as I
mentioned
liked-
they've mentioned that it was really difficult to make. So if
Yeah.
it was hard to make, it was expensive, and there wasn't a whole lot of like population on it, likely chances of that happening is super minimal.
Low. As
It was
much as
highlighted by the fact that it was spotlighted with Guardian Con and Destiny Community Con and charity events, that kind of thing. I think that was the largest amount of viewership that it had seen, thus inspiring the largest player base. There was also a couple of tournaments. I think Chad Lantis was one of the winners, the fastest Guardian on the planet. Shout out to Chad. But there really wasn't a lot player base that was involved. I mean, Demon with GoFundMe for Sparrow Racing, honestly, start it. Put it out there. Used to say Bungie will take that money and make it. They'll probably spend on something else. But hey,
Whisper ornaments paid for 0 hour.
yeah,
Let's buy some sparrows in Eververse. And
I
get
don't think
this-
the economy model is there for it, especially given the fact that Bungie's their own publisher right now.
Yeah.
They do not have the spare funds to allocate to something like that. Not
Zach.
yet.
Yeah, probably not.
Zach, what I want you to do, I want you to go out, get a cardboard box, get 5 buddies. All right? Each of you get a giant cardboard box. Make sparrows out of them and LARP.
It's like
They
soapbox. Like, so
Yeah.
what is it? Like,
It's
what are they
kinda
called,
like,
dude?
It's kind of like soapbox
cars.
derby.
Yeah,
Box
soapbox
car
derby
racing.
with sparrows. You probably get more people participating in that than actual Sparrow Racing League. Not gonna lie. I'll talk to K Magic. I can't imagine that the
Oh, that would be hilarious.
the disclaimer form or whatever, the waiver form would probably be pretty significant for that, for an event at Guardian Con. Talk to Kevin about having a soapbox derby Sparrow Racing League at Guardian Con, Gaming Community Con 2020. But
Oh my god, that would be so
can't
good.
imagine what the lawyer fees would be.
All right, we got a couple more questions here. Zildjian X asks, do you reckon we will get our beloved icebreaker back? I missed the sound of that thing.
Maybe. I have no idea.
Solar
We've been
Week's
getting like one old school exotic back per season, so
Yeah.
I would imagine something's going to make an appearance. Whether or not it's Icebreaker, I'm not sure, and I'm not exactly sure where Icebreaker fits in terms of the sandbox
Yeah.
anymore.
Is Solar Week this week?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Where are these dates coming from? Because I don't remember seeing this on
I don't
Bungie's
remember
calendar.
seeing it either.
Like I keep hearing people talk about a solar week, but there's been no like.
We're gonna have to go back a twab or 6.
Yeah, we're
see
gonna
if
have to
we
go.
can
We're gonna go.
mention there.
Guys, we'll go back 8 twabs so you don't have to.
There you go.
Is that the one
just
where I
to-
won movie of the week and didn't get my emblem yet?
Possibly.
Somebody clip this and send it to Dylan.
Yep.
There
do
you
it.
go.
He already
Figure it out.
despises me enough. We don't need to make him hate me anymore.
But you know, we got Monte Carlo coming back next season, so
It doesn't even show. So on the TWAB from the first, they put out a new roadmap and it's not even on it. So
Yeah, so I don't know where people are getting a solar week from. Like I think the only time I've ever heard them mention anything regarding that was when they addressed that Arc Week was just kind of like a patch update.
was
Yeah.
a poorly named thing.
Yeah, but I haven't seen or heard anything from like Bungie themselves saying that, hey, Solar Week is this week. We're updating a bunch of solar classes.
Maybe it was from like the data mines or something, because I'd
Yeah.
seen a lot about that on like the subreddit and on Twitter, people talking about Solar Week coming up. Nothing confirmed.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's granted there's been a lot of stuff that Datamine has been
Yeah.
super mega accurate with, but there's also been a lot of stuff that hasn't.
Yeah.
Like I
People
mean,
are saying
look at
from the
Word,
data mine.
look at Wordcliff Coil when it was dubious volley like 3
Yeah.
years ago.
Back in Taken King, man.
Back
That's
in
when that
Taken
thing
King.
first showed up.
Yeah, yeah. And, what else? Like recently, was Datamine that? Oh, when Last Word on Light GG before it was like ever released or anything, it was showing up as like a 180, and people were losing their shit.
Yeah, people were talking about how Last Word was going to be fundamentally different, and nope, it was exactly as it is.
Yeah,
in
it's
one.
exactly the same thing. So it's like
Same thing with Thorn.
yeah, basically is wait until like official word, but don't just take data mining with like a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Because-
Things always change.
Half the time, the stuff you're seeing in a data mine is hidden in game code because it's not complete.
Yeah,
So there's usually a lot of stuff that gets changed about that. I mean, shoot, we data mined that we were going to be going back to D1 destinations way back when D2 came out on PC
Mhm.
in 2016, 2017, whenever the game launched. Still haven't had it happen.
yeah. Especially with all of the finished voiceover lines with the factions.
Yeah, that was years ago, and
Yeah.
it still hasn't happened. So data mining is a good hint at what might be coming, but it's not always going to be solid.
Yeah.
Moving on, do you think upping the rate of fire of all auto rifles but keeping their damage would help them or make them too strong? From Frankie M3.
Wait, what was the?
Do you
think
think?
Upping the
upping-
rate of fire
Yeah.
of all auto
Of
rifles. I mean,
all
that's
auto
a
rifles?
DPS increase. I
Yeah.
don't know what it would do.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do it for all of them, but if you
No.
could make a case. Again, I think this ties into if every weapon had the same time to kill, but it really
Mhm.
depends on which one you're comfortable with and whether or not you could hit your shot. Would that create a more balanced effort?
Yeah.
ARs are largely thought of as low skill weapons because you have a higher amount of ammunition that you can fire at any given time.
Mhm.
So it therefore takes you more bullets.
Don't you mean dad rifle?
No, I mean you can make a case for pulse rifles too, but it's whatever. Like I miss the time that was the Doctrine of Passing in Destiny 1, where the Doctrine was like the
the
weapon
fire
that was
hose?
a
Yeah, me
decent
too.
time. especially given the fact that the meta has kind of been so heavily weighted on hand cannons for so long. I wouldn't necessarily be offended or upset with an AR kind of finding its way into the mix. ARs are not completely useless right now. They're not useless. They're just not as strong. There are, I mean, what is it? The Cerberus? Am I going to say that right? Cerberus, the Suros are actually usable weapons in Crucible.
Bro, the Braytech Winterwolf, it is. Nah. If you like, I don't know, if you like the Galrin's right hand, the Braytech is literally just a better version of that because it has a higher RPM with like nearly identical stats.
So there's versions out there for those of you who want to give auto rifle a shot.
Yeah.
Will they ever be meta again? Who knows? It really depends on who's turning the knobs over on the Crucible side of Bungie right now and what differences.
Yeah.
And again, they alluded to buffs and nerfs and whatnot, but didn't get specific.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming some pretty significant changes are coming down the pipeline. You don't go silent for 6 months and not make significant changes. I'm just expecting.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope so, because auto rifles, you know, they're a fun class, and some of them are still okay, like Suros and Cerberus.
Mhm.
Well, at least if you're really, really close with Cerberus, that thing can shred.
Oh my god, it was so fun.
Yeah, I'd like to see them bumped up a bit, though.
Last question of the evening. Nerdlit asks, what fashion are y'all looking forward to rocking? Oh my god, I need to learn how to read. What fashion are y'all looking forward to rocking with Armor 2.0?
Not getting duped by Nerdlit. The armor I'm going to be trying to wear, Nerdlit.
There's so many.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a
I
lot.
don't even know. I don't even know. What is it now? Like you unlock oh god, help me out. Not skins, but ornaments.
Universal ornaments.
And the ornaments are what you can fashion your guardian under. So if I get gauntlets
Universal
from wherever,
ornaments are Eververse only.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they on all 2.0 or are they only on the Solstice?
It's all 2.0 legendary gear.
Okay. Does that
That's
also
pretty cool.
count for the glows?
If you're using the ornament for like the drained gear, I believe they said that it does work.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's not across. You can't use glows on any piece of armor that you want.
No.
Right.
So if you're using either the drained or the renewed ornament for that for those, then you can use the glows for that particular set, but not for like any of the like the Optimacy set or the Omega Mechanos.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
My hunter looks pretty damn good right now. So I think I'm gonna go for all the different armor pieces that I have there. Like I have the cloak from Last Wish. I have the current helmet from Crucible that I have that I wear. I like the prodigal arms. I'm just a hodgepodge of all these different things, and I'm going to be going for that same look. Like I like looking that way. I'm going to be going that way to try to look how I feel is my best. And it's this like weird ninja that has no eyes that you can stare into. And it's kind of scary in that way. So
man, I get called to the edgelord. There's a question in chat by External Memory. So the way it works is if you have the ornaments for Crucible from year 1 and the Iron Banner ornaments, you can use those for that gear. But the universal ornament is Eververse stuff for all legendary gear set. So if you've ever gotten like a full set of any previous Eververse sets, you can use it in any legendary gear in Armor 2.0.
Never had a real emphasis on what my character looks like other than matching shaders. So I'll be curious to see what I do with my. I only match shaders because chat lost their shit.
Yeah. I
don't see my character.
Yeah.
You know.
I tend to use like a dark green shader when I'm playing PvP.
Gambit Chrome, Celestial Dome. Those are the only two I use.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm done.
What was the one? No, I'm just
Yeah,
getting
see,
into
I have no
collections.
idea what I'm going to
Yeah.
do. I have no idea what I'm going to do. There's going to be so many different options with armor and stuff. I'll figure it out when it comes out.
There is an emblem for the best dressed guardian.
Yeah,
There
the
is
Levante
that.
prize. Yeah.
We're going to have a fashion report for Best Dressed Guardians, which is kind of cool. That was
Yeah.
announced in the TWAB for this week.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Good
kind
stuff.
of excited about that. I think that might be the one that I get. I'm terrible at editing, so editing video, also maybe audio, who knows? But I'm terrible at editing video, so I'm definitely probably not going to get that movie of the week emblem unless I'm in somebody else's thing. So
It's going to be fun. I love that you'll be able to basically wear whatever you want moving forward.
yeah.
That's good stuff. Glamour is always the true end game. Well, all right. Was that it for all the questions?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Mills. Thank you, bud. Appreciate that.
Mills highly
mean-
underestimates me. Just saying.
Yeah, you're wrong,
You're wrong,
Mills,
dude.
but thanks for the compliment to our buddy Nim. We appreciate
Nem's
it.
hair is going to
Yeah.
be the strongest here for sure. I don't
That's
know about
very
the-
true.
well,
His hair
I
will
can't
live
argue with
on.
that.
His hair will live on longer than all of us.
That's a little unfair, but take the dubs where you could get them. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for episode 209 of the Planet Destiny podcast. The director's cut of the director's cut. Lot of stuff we went over in this episode. I think we did a pretty good job of covering a lot of the biggest bits of information in the 3-part director's cut, as well as the armor customization preview we got earlier in the week. There's a lot of stuff to look forward to, and I
God.
cannot wait to learn even more, man. It's looking good. It's looking super good. But of course, before we get on out of here for tonight, we're going to let you know where you can find us all across the internet. And if we've got anything special coming up, starting off with the one who now has the hair to rule them all, Mr. Nim Plays, aka Eddie Valiant. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing good. You can find me over on twitter.com/nemplays and twitch.tv.com/nemplays. I honestly don't have much happening for like the next couple of weeks. I'm currently waiting on Greedfall to come out on September 10th, and then 2 days later or 3 days later, Borderlands 3 drops. So my Twitch channel is going to be really, really dry for like the next 2 to 3 weeks. So, yeah.
Yo, I meant to say to you, Nim, I bought Anthem.
All right. Hold on.
On sale this week?
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait
Hold on.
a minute.
Wait.
Why?
Okay. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Literally why?
Well, let me put it this way.
This ought to be good.
So Anthem has their whole Cataclysm nonsense going on. I figured I'll go back in and check it out and whatnot. Took a look at it and was like, EA wants $19 for the base game and $19 for the upgrade to the Legion of Dawn. Ha! Miss me with that. But I checked my PayPal and I had like $30 in PayPal for something that, I don't know, something I did and somebody sent me money.
Uh-huh.
So I got the Legion of Dawn edition for $2. I only had to pay $2 because PayPal handled the rest of it. So
Bro.
I'll take that. I'll buy Anthem for $2.
Yeah.
Whoever sent me that $28 on PayPal, thanks, because I got Anthem for $2. $2.
Whoever sent you that money on PayPal just got disrespected.
You're getting a
They
charge
just,
back.
yeah, you got charged back
Charge
real
back.
hard right
Yeah,
now.
Charge back. Too bad it's already spent. I spent it. I only spent 2 of my actual monies on Anthem, and I
No,
can.
you
I
spent
can live
30
forever
of your
to say.
actual monies on Anthem.
Hey, I never touched that cash.
That's
It
what
was
it is.
digital. It was never in my bank
That's
account.
not how this works,
That's-
TBL.
The
yeah,
only
money-
thing that left my bank account was $2. That's all I spent, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Anthem is a $2 game. Change my mind. You
Oh
can't.
my god. So S8 Airy said in chat, TBL announces new EA sponsorship. EA sent you that $20.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
There's nothing in the game. What are you talking about?
It's actually
Okay.
outside of the game.
There is something in the game. It's your credit card number and all of your money being taken away.
Oh man, at least it isn't E3 where they have your home address.
Oh my
That's
god.
gonna be a big oof. So you might see me on Anthem. That'll be fun to that'll be fun to do. Aura, what you doing, man?
My name is Aura. You can find me twitch.tv/Aura, twitter.com/evilaura, 3VIL_AURA. Still dealing with a lot of stuff IRL. Schedule is a little bit spotty until we can figure out exactly how things are going to pan out. So you can catch live announcements on the Twitter channel, and you can always just swing by and see it for live and see what we're up to. A lot of wrapping things up, getting ready for Shadowkeep. I've got some titles I got to finish. Some gears still to acquire. So we're still playing a little bit of Destiny. In my free time, I am playing the shit out of Xenoblade 2 on the Nintendo Switch. And if you've not played it, if you like JRPGs, Xenoblade 2 is one of the best ones I've ever played.
Yep.
It is a very good game. So if you have some extra money, you would dig JRPGs, go out and grab yourself a copy. Very, very well done.
Oh, you know what? I
tell
have
you
to
something
ask you now. Go ahead, Nim.
Let me tell you something that Aura's not doing. He's not buying Anthem.
No, I bought Anthem at the monthly installment that they had
The
done.
premium thing. Yeah, that's how I first got it too.
And it wasn't worth the second month, so I pulled my money. It makes me sad because if it just got out of its own way, it would be such a great game.
Don't get me wrong. I want that game to succeed and rally back like no other.
Yeah, me too.
Because like it had genuinely fun traversal mechanics and abilities and stuff like that.
The core game is fun.
Yeah, it really is.
But is EA going to give it the time?
When
needs to sell the title to somebody else who can actually take a year to make that game what it should be.
When the lead producer bounces.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, he was also one of the main producers of Star Wars: The Old Republic, and after he left, that game got way better.
Okay, fair enough.
So
that's the only game. That's the only game that I've raged at on stream. Is Anthem.
Oh my goodness.
Nim was there. It was not pretty.
Oh, I was there. He was so upset. He didn't give it a chance to bounce back. No, I'm done. I'm playing something else.
It's bad. Yeah, it was bad. Maybe it'll have its Division, 1 kind of story where in a year it comes back and is okay, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, Dan, what about you, man?
Hi, my name is Danfinity. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Danfinity, but the I's are L, so Dan Flannelty. You can find me on Twitch 4 days a week. This week, I'm gonna be finishing up my Titan blue set of gear. I just got my blue set of gear. I need to finish that up and get the legendary so I can get the Sparrow. That's it. I'm gonna take maybe a week, 2 off from Destiny. I might play some No Man's Sky. I might I don't know. I could play some Legend of Dragoon. I fell off that pretty hard.
Legend of Dragoon?
Yeah, dude, I love the shit out of that game.
What?
It's so good.
What?
So I might do that. I might do a little Hyperlight Drifter. I don't know, anything to tank my numbers on Twitch. But
that's why I'm not streaming Xenoblade.
Yeah,
why are you streaming or because I care about my Twitch channel.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'll probably dig deep into No Man's Sky. That new update looks pretty good. And
it looks insanely good.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna test the waters there for a little while. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I also do a podcast called Side Quest Sunday. I took the week off this week because IRL was kind of crazy, and we do a myself, Green Eyed Music Lover from Focus Fire Chat, and Aerocast are doing this weekday Destiny news roundup. It's meant to be about like 5 minutes long. And so Monday through Friday, there's an episode each day. Destiny Digest. This week, there are a couple more episodes because we did like audiobook readings of Luke Smith's director's cuts. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So feel free to look that up. That's on Spotify and Apple and wherever you get podcasts.
Right on, man. You got like a full schedule for the week. I love it.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. I'm trying to quit my job eventually someday and figure out how my hobbies can pay me. So,
hey, that's the dream right there. When
Yeah.
your hobby pays for your life,
yeah.
you know you've made it. But all right, of course, my name is The Black Link. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all at The Black Link. This week, more of the same. We'll have some Final Fantasy 14 live streams. I might do another D2 live stream, finishing up some of the Solstice of Heroes stuff. And of course, we'll be having all of the information that we learn about cross-save. We'll be walking through that process live and put a video or something out for you guys to see all that kind of stuff. But any other news we get, we will, of course, cover on the Planet Destiny YouTube channel. So make sure you're following us there. But all right, everybody, I think that is it. That's a wrap. That is it for episode 209 of the Planet Destiny podcast. This one has been a ton of fun. We got through a lot of stuff. And man, the future's looking pretty bright for this game. Can't wait to share more. But all right, that's it for this one. We'll catch you all next week. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Hey.